Policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Tonight's forecast calls for Hurricanes hockey.
Here's Aho with a chance, and he scores! And Sebastian Aho has tied it at 2.
Storm Watch with Adam Gold at 7:30. Puck drop at 8.
He scores! Jackson Blake gets the stick to it, and Carolina scores on the power play to take a 3-2 lead.
On your exclusive home for the Carolina Hurricanes, 99.9 The Fan.
It's 2025, and it's time to get your home zero-resified by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Get 3 rooms zero-resified starting at just $109 and take $100 off your air duct cleaning as well. Book online anytime at ZeroResRaleigh.com.
Lowe's knows how to help make your Super Bowl 59 party a touchdown. Let us help you prep your home to host with top brands like Charbroil, Blackstone, and LG, so you can be the MVP of game day. Plus, use the Lowe's app to find what you need for a seamless shopping run. Or huddle up with our Lowe's Red Vest associates to help make all your game time hosting decisions.
What's this?
We're expanding the North Carolina Education Lottery Winners Club.
That's a pretty big wrecking ball.
Well, with all these new scratch-offs, this place is going to be packed with new winners. Okay, let's go ahead and knock this wall down. This is where we're putting the polo field. Whoa, patience, Trixie.
This month's tickets are loaded with $150 million in total prizes. The Winners Club awaits. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning range from 3.31 to 4.55. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu. Financial aid is available for qualified students, including the GI Bill.
Discover the thrill of precision and elegance with Omega at Bailey's Fine Jewelry. From the depths of the ocean to the heights of space, Omega's Seamaster and Speedmaster collections are crafted for those who dare to explore, with a heritage rooted in innovation and a timeless style inspired by sports, space, and cinematic legends. Omega is the gift for every adventurer. Find your perfect watch at Bailey's Fine Jewelry in Raleigh's Village District. Voted best jeweler. Learn more at BaileyBox.com.
Homeowners, it's time to start fresh in 2025. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto is here to help you take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payment and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto. Lock in a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com. WCMC-FM HD1 Holly Springs.
You're listening to The Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Orlov, his shot through traffic, rebound was there. Second chance, it's still loose. Kane's digging for it, they score! Mrazek thought he had it, the captain kept fighting, and Carolina has tied it at 3. Jordan Stahl's 700th career point has tied Carolina here in Chicago. Out comes Burns. Natchez with it. Natchez stops. Face-off dot across. Aho! He scores! Game over! Sebastian Aho, his 4th overtime winner this season. And the Canes get the extra point and win it 4-3 in overtime.
Death, taxes, and Natchez to Ajo in overtime. What's the difference? They are all inevitable. Also, apparently, Ajo to Jarvis shorthanded during games. Apparently also inevitable. Hi, everyone. It's the Adam Gold Show. Live. Yesterday, we were a best of, air quotes.
Yeah.
Hi, Victoria.
Hi.
I am almost thawed.
Almost. Slightly.
Can I tell you, I was in Atlanta for 3 days for a youth soccer showcase. Atlanta, we were actually well north of Atlanta. We were in Norcross. And I had very good wings, by the way.
Oh.
Taco Mac has amazing wings.
Oh.
Yes.
Would not have known.
Yeah. It's matter of fact, taco's like the 8th thing on their menu.
Wow.
Like they feature wings.
Even though it's in the name.
Yeah, exactly. I asked Wes Durham, I said, Wes, where's the best place for wings? My son would eat wings at every meal, including breakfast. So I said, where's the best place for wings? And he goes, is there a Taco Mac by you? Honestly, there's like 7 of them.
Right.
So it was like a Chick-fil-A. They were everywhere.
It's a weird recommendation.
So
where do you get wings? Taco place.
Right. Again, it's not really a taco place.
Yeah.
So he said, go there. We went there. And, of course, I loved him. And I'm not a wing person. And he was like, whatever.
I know.
They
not
weren't
either.
fried. That was the problem.
It's a lot. Oh, okay.
They were roasted.
It's a lot of work for just a little bit.
Oh, these are good. These are
Oh,
very
good.
I was very impressed. Anyway, so it was colder in Atlanta than it was here.
That's crazy. Because it was cold here, too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yep.
No good.
No, the wind didn't help either. Like you mentioned, it was windy, so it could just be cold and not windy. But when it's windy and cold,
I sat in the car and watched the game from the car. I got there early, got a good spot, and sat in the car. Anyway, so we had a best of yesterday. We got a lot of things to talk about. I missed the last 2 Hurricanes games. Watched them both.
Yeah, well, you were in a freezer.
Perfect. But didn't do either podcast, so we can talk a little bit about that, and we will. But last night, we crowned the first college football playoff champion in the 12-team playoff era, and there is a symmetry about it that we will get to. So congratulations to the Ohio State University, who won the first 4-team college football playoff back in 2014. I think they won the first 4-team playoff. I think they did. Did they? They might not have. No, I don't. Who knows? If I'm wrong about that, I'm wrong about that, but I don't think I am. And they won the first 12-team playoff. How about that?
Look at them go.
Look at them. Yes. So good for them. Cardale Jones was the quarterback when they won back in 2014. And there is a chance, based on what I have read, that even next year's field could be 14 teams big.
Wow.
So if that's the case, Ohio State right now is plus 450 to win.
The
Easy
odds
money.
Are already there.
Easy money. So 34-23 was the final score. I think the final score flatters Notre Dame a little bit.
I was going to say that score is a little deceptive.
Yeah, it was 28 to actually it was 31-7 at one point. But I give Notre Dame credit because the truth of the matter is that when they scored to go up or to cut the lead to 31-23, I mean that game is still winnable at that point.
Yeah.
They could. I mean there was plenty of time if Ohio State doesn't get themselves in position to kick a field goal and end it, Notre Dame's got a chance. But Ohio State basically was not stopped all night, not even a little. I think they punted once. They turned the ball over once, which was really how Notre Dame was able to stay in it. They turned it over after a 20-some-odd yard gain, but they turned it over when one of their best wide receivers, and they had a lot of them, fumbled the ball. But it was really a thorough thrashing by Ohio State. And I thought, like many people, we've all experienced this. Notre Dame opens the game with an 18-play, 75-yard drive for 9 minutes and 45 seconds off the clock. When you expend that much, sometimes you need a nap.
Or two. Or a banana.
I think we've all been there. So, yeah, they basically did nothing the next 5 drives. Ohio State led 31-7. So that's the story of the game. I thought it was over when Ohio State opened the second half with a 5-play, 75-yard drive, which really was the 70-yard run by Quinshon Judkins. To me, that ended the game. But Notre Dame still had a chance at the end. But good for them. The Irish never quit. Marcus Freeman can be happy about that.
Obviously, tough moment, tough outcome. There's reasons why we didn't get the outcome we wanted. Credit to Ohio State and their ability to execute and on both sides of the ball. And, obviously in the special teams, they made a field goal that mattered at the end of the game. And so, we obviously didn't play the way we needed to get the outcome we want. But as I said to the guys in the locker room, there's not many words to say when everybody's hurting. I'm just proud of them. I'm proud of what they've done. I'm proud of who they are, the way they represent themselves, and it's just an honor to be on this journey with them.
I mean, outstanding account of themselves. They rallied, gave themselves a chance. I don't know if Ohio State really wasn't stopped all night. So the theory that, and I've probably put this out there for whether Twitter or Blue Sky, that said, well, maybe Ohio State took their foot off the gas. Well, they didn't stop gaining yards. So I think that turnover gave Notre Dame a chance, and Notre Dame started putting points on the board. Maybe, if anything, maybe Ohio State took their foot off the gas defensively, right? But Notre Dame on their opening drive converted 2 third downs and 2 fourth downs, and had, of those 18 plays, only 2 of them were for at least 10 yards. It was death by 1,000 paper cuts for Ohio State, but that was it for like the next 5 drives. And think about this. If it's a 4-team playoff, Ohio State's not in it because they lost that game to Michigan. That was an elimination game if you were Ohio State, already with 1 loss on the board. But then they got into the playoff, and they just boat raced. Boat raced people. Here's Ryan Day.
God made it hard for a reason. And, you just never know what's in your path along the way. But this game can give you the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. It can take you to your knees some days as a player and as a coach. And I've been there before. And, for all those coaches or people who, are, on a journey to what they're looking to accomplish, if you're trying to achieve greatness, you're trying to become national champs in the most competitive environment there is in the entire world. I mean, there's nothing more competitive than college football, in my opinion. And it's going to be hard. And there's going to be things you'll learn along the way. But if you surround yourself with great people, you're resilient, and you believe in the guys around you, and you just keep fighting and keep putting one foot in front of the other, you give yourself another chance. And that's really what it was. And you think, back we were in the stadium last time, and I couldn't quite come to grips for a while with why we just didn't quite finish that game against Georgia. But I understand now. It all makes sense, and here we are, and I couldn't feel better.
Look, there was talk, seriously, after the loss to Michigan, that Ryan Day needed to win a national championship to keep his job. I mean, I'm not plugged in, but I can read, and that was the prevailing thought. that based on his inability to beat Michigan, no joke, that he needed to win a title or maybe at least get this far just to keep his job. I mean, whether that's fair or not, we don't even have to discuss. But he won the title. And nobody's getting fired after winning a title. All right, so one more thing about the game. It was like I was asked this question this morning on FNZ. I went on with Mac and Bone this morning. I by the way, I gave T-Bone the full treatment after no showing on us on Friday. They asked if this was a great college football season. And I said, well, it's kind of a weird college football season. I thought it was super interesting at the end. I'm not sure we saw great college football, but it was definitely interesting at the end because there were so many teams that are, seriously in contention for a college football playoff spot. So because of that, I thought it was a really interesting year. Again, we were talking probably 15, 16, 17, 18 teams the last couple of weeks of the regular season and into the college football, into the conference championship weekend. But some of the best teams took on more losses than you would ever have thought. Again, Ohio State, the team that we saw last night and the last few games of the college football playoff, that Ohio State team should have been doing this to everybody. They should have been boat racing everyone, and they just weren't. They were good. They weren't great. So, for the people who went, so this is what's great about college football, my point is this. If you sit there and say that there was no impact on the meaning of the regular season, you're kidding yourself. Because there was each game during the regular season, whatever percentage you want to place on it, carried less importance because that Ohio State-Michigan game in a 4-team playoff eliminates Ohio State. Eliminates them. Now, I would argue that had that game been that important, Ohio State would have beaten Michigan by 40. But that's speculation. So the 12-team playoff allowed, and we can decide whether that's good or bad. Ohio State was allowed to lay that egg. Georgia was allowed to spot Alabama 28 points in Tuscaloosa before losing. That means they came back and took a lead. So they were allowed to spot Alabama those points. Out of that game, we had the Ralph Russo, who now writes for The Athletic, talk about how important these games really were for college, for the regular season. I'm like, I slammed it then. In retrospect, I was right because the team that won that game didn't make the college football playoff. The team that lost that game did. So, look, it was a fun season. I am happy for that. And I think that we'll have fun seasons here on out. I think the committee will do better. I think the seeding process will get better. And the tournament will get better. This tournament wasn't so good. The Final Four was good. That's good. But the first 2 weekends, we basically had one good game. 2, I'll give you Notre Dame and it was Notre Dame, Georgia, where Notre Dame beat Georgia in the quarterfinals, right? That was that? Yeah, that was a good game. All right, to the Hurricanes, who beat the Blackhawks in overtime last night by a 4-3 score. Rod Brind'Amour said it after the game. Best line. And it's been their best line for a long time now. Jordan Stahl, Jordan Martinook, and whoever's playing with them. Last year, we saw a lot of Seth Jarvis by the end of the season. If you watch Seth Jarvis play, he fits. He likes to play that way. He likes to play the very simple game. And it really helps Stahl and Martinook that you've got somebody who can finish those chances. Svechnikov played there a few times, and it was an effective line because Martinook and Stahl are super impactful players. But I think Jarvis really fits there, and now it's up to Rod Brind'Amour to create another line that will impact the score sheet. Because right now, it's not really happening. Aho, Blake, and Svechnikov have a chance, but I think Rod's got to leave that together for a little bit. I really do. But let's get to the top story last night. And then we have a surprise. All right? I have a surprise. And I need to know this person's name, by the way. Oh, no. This person, they haven't, nobody's called yet.
No, we've got the person that's supposed to be here on the line. I don't know what his name is.
All right, get his name, because I honestly don't know. We don't take phone calls. We really don't. Occasionally we do. But somebody had something to say. I don't even know who this person is, but we're going to at least entertain the phone call because I think this will represent a lot of people out there. I said this on Friday. I put out a pretty long Twitter thread about it. Carolina's got a number of issues. The fact that Aho, Svechnikov, and Necas have not been super impactful offensive players is among them. I think last night and the game in Buffalo, which is the last one I did for a podcast after, illustrates now, to me, more of a concern is that the blue line hasn't been good. Brent Burns sleeping on the third goal. Watching. He had a great seat, though. Dmitry Orlov overskated the puck and gave the puck away for the second goal. And Jacob Slavin was kind of victimized wide on the first and the third goals. It's okay to criticize your favorite players, right? So Carolina's blue line needs to kind of buckle down. And Orlov misplayed the puck late in the third period that created the 2-on-0 that Freddie Anderson stopped. Which brings me back to Freddie Anderson. I talked about this on Friday. I put out a thread over the weekend about it. Do not sell short just how big a deal it is that Anderson is back early. Never saw that coming. Because it solidifies the number 1 goalie spot and the number 2 goalie spot. Anderson, the last 10 games last year and in the Islanders series, was spectacular. First 4 games this year, spectacular. He wasn't great in the Rangers series. We've documented why that was the case. I think he was just completely worn out. I thought my one criticism of Brind'Amour was that you should have played Kochetkov in the Islanders series to just ease the pressure and the workload on Anderson. So whether Anderson just wore out or he's just played bad, I don't know. But I think he was just a little tired. Anyway, Anderson, for my money right now, is a more steady number 1. When we get to the playoffs, I will, unless Kochetkov is one of the best 3 goalies in the NHL the rest of the way, I expect Anderson to be the starter in Game 1 of the playoffs. But I expect Kochetkov to play a role in that first series. I do. And what Carolina now has is a much more consistent, higher floor, maybe lower ceiling, number 1, and arguably the best backup goaltender in the National Hockey League, which makes Carolina's goaltending situation excellent. And if you know, as a player, that your goaltending is going to give you a chance every night, and bless the players' hearts for talking a good game. There's no possible way on this earth they could have thought that. for the last 2 months. If they know it, and I believe they know it now, it makes the rest of the game easier. Now the rest of their game needs to catch up.
Our caller's name is Muff. Like Muffin, but he goes by Muff.
Really?
Yeah, it's
All
not
right.
a Muppet either.
So on Twitter, I believe we have, it's Colts Caniac. He's a Colts fan and is a Canes fan. And I was super engaged with Hurricanes fans last night after the game. Muff, we don't usually do this, but I'm going to take your call because I think you probably represent a lot of Canes fans who have thoughts, problems, questions, whatever. So the floor is yours, Muff.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me on today.
You're welcome.
I would first like to shout out KK for Selkie, Hurricanes 2024-2025 chat, and the Warning Take podcast chat collective.
Okay.
They're all huge parts of Canes Twitter and who
Yes.
I am representing today.
Oh, so you are representing the Warning Take. Okay, good. All right. That's fine. Go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to ask you, why do you defend Brent Burns so much when he essentially goes out there and does cardio? I'm on a walk right now. I'm doing cardio.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not paid $5.5 million per year like Brent is.
I just now. I know you're on the line at this point. I just now criticized Brent Burns.
There's a first time for everything.
Oh no, it's not the first time. So is this the way it's going to go? Is this the way it's going to go?
Are you going to be able to take the heat? Are you going to be able to do this? Or?
Okay. See, this is it's fine. This is good. Because what we have a lot is selective hearing. We don't. First of all, we also could have a difference of opinion. As I have said before, for about the first 30, 35 games, Brent Burns was really good defensively. Hasn't been good the last 2-3 weeks. And the mistakes have been glaring. I pointed those out. But it's okay that people don't hear everything I say because, heck, not everybody listens all the time. I get it. It's fine. But I appreciate all of my timeline filling up with maybe you, Muff, maybe the Warning Take, who I have no idea who it is. I don't follow him. I don't follow you either. But I'm not. That's not a slam or anything. I just know I don't follow a lot of listeners. So it's okay that you fill my timeline with, what do you think of Brent Burns now? I'm like, I think he made a bad play. And I didn't watch the game on Friday night when I can't even explain what he was thinking in the third period late. When he completely tried to lose the game. If I was being flippant about it, I know that's not the case, but he was terrible. But I didn't watch the game live. I watched it over the weekend. But if this is the plan, you won't win. So what's your point?
Oh, really?
No, you won't win. But
Backpack boy, Mr. Backpack Grandpa.
Oh, okay. That's fine. We're good. We're good. Adulthood is a wonderful thing. Name calling, it ain't going to work. I just don't care. I don't care enough. You don't add to the program. You don't add to the discourse. So if you want to just call names, you are who you are. We'll move on. But about Brent Burns, because what people don't get, Brent Burns was not brought here to be a defensive defenseman. And I get it. 2 years ago, Burns was electric offensively. Last year, I really thought he would take the next step offensively, and he really didn't. Brady Shea was Carolina's best offensive defenseman last year. And as it turns out, Burns also was dealing with I think a sports hernia for most of the season. But that does, if you're playing, you're playing. So he wasn't great offensively. This year, at the beginning of the season, and I talked to a number of people around the team who confirmed what I thought, is that he looked like a completely different player. He looked quicker. And that's when I found out that he had an injury last year. Regardless, I don't need to explain this, but I will anyway. So the reality is that while his offense hasn't been there all year long, defensively, at least until the last, say, 15 games, he was pretty good. At times, the reality is that 74 hasn't been that good this year either. But I don't see the criticism of him, and I don't want to criticize Jacob Slavin either because he's been so amazing since he's ever worn the uniform. But we all have our punching bags, and Brent Burns is our people's punching bags, and it's impossible sometimes to see the reality. But I think I've been honest about my assessment of everybody on the team, even though, I kind of think Brent Burns was good for the first 30 or so games. He has not been, although he's been very good on the penalty kill, which is kind of odd because he's been a huge part of why Carolina is the second best penalty kill in the sport. Well, that was fun. Will Brinson's going to join us on the other side. See, this is why we don't take calls. Because of that.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
All playoff roads lead to New Orleans.
Playoff football, baby.
The wild cards, the championship games, presented by First Horizon Bank and Wake Med, will be heard here.
It's Barkley running to the left. Barkley gets by everybody. Saquon Barkley is gone. Touchdown. 28-15. Philly.
The Triangle's home for Super Bowl 59. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle sports leader.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and there is nothing quite like the NFL playoffs, and we are down to our final 4 teams, one big game after another, although we only have 3 games left, and the bigger the game, the bigger the payouts. That's why FanDuel is giving all customers a same-game parlay profit boost every game day during the NFL playoffs. That's right, doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or not. You will score bigger if your same-game parlay hits. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Get in the game. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. FanDuel.com/Adam Gold. Official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and maximum wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
Whoa, it's you, the Capital One Bank guy.
That's what they call me.
Mind if I get a selfie?
Yeah, sure thing. Say no fees or minimums on your Capital One checking account.
Wow, that's a keeper. So, where are you heading?
I'm off to spread the good news that Capital One helps people keep more money in their wallet with no overdraft fees.
Oh, you're the best Capital One Bank guy.
Hey, mind if I get a selfie?
Sure.
Say, Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank for details. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Right now at Wendy's, get 2 of these fave items for just $7. The spicier classic chicken sandwich, Dave's single, or 10-piece nugs. It's an incredible deal, but an insanely difficult choice. Do you go double chicky sando, both spicy and classic, 1 beefy and 1 chicky? Or maybe you go all in on one and go Nug Max. 2 faves for just $7? Gotta be Wendy's.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time only. Select a request 2 for $7 deal to redeem. Not valid in a combo or with saucy nugs. Single item at regular price. Prices may be higher in
A few contest rules from sports radio stations The Fan, The Buzz. No purchase necessary. 21 to enter and play. Limited to 1 entry per person and 1 prize winner per family or household per contest every 30 days. Employees of Capital Broadcasting, its agencies, sponsors, subsidiaries, other broadcast companies, and immediate families of the above are ineligible to play. Winners are verified, complete documentation, and are responsible for all taxes and prizes received. All prizes are non-transferable and cannot be redeemed for cash. Winners give Sports Radio the right to publicize his or her name, likeness, or voice. Sports may change contest rules and prizes at any time and holds no liability for canceled or postponed events. Complete info of sports radio contests available at WRALSportsFan.com or during normal business hours at 3100 Highwoods Boulevard in Raleigh.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
This is Adam Gold.
What, a minute 53 into the game? Heat of the moment?
Right.
What kind of heat of the moment is that? We haven't even gotten to simmer yet.
I know. Did someone flip him off in the parking lot? Like, what are we...
Seriously.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria on the ones and twos. We are down to our final four of the NFL. We've got Buffalo at Kansas City. Juicy. And we have an NFC East battle with Washington in Philadelphia. Interesting.
I know.
Interesting. I know. Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com. All right, he joins us. Normally, it's like a Monday for me. And I think it's a Monday for him, too, because we all celebrated Martin Luther King Day yesterday in various ways. All right, let's start with the upset. Let's start with Washington in Detroit. And, man, I feel for Dan Campbell. I feel for Lions fans. You could tell how much he pours into it all. That Jared Goff just looked out of sorts even before the hit by Frankie Louvu. That first interception was super overthrown, and maybe a shot to the I don't know if it was a shot to the confidence or not. But how much of that was Washington just not being denied, or Detroit kind of playing down?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was probably more Washington than it was Detroit. I mean, Detroit wasn't perfect, and I do think they came into that game and just really every game since those injuries started piling up, knowing that they had to be hyper aggressive on offense. And then when you see Washington come out and play the way that they did on offense too, it only sort of magnifies how aggressive you need to be. And so all of that sort of combined to maybe make Detroit a little nervous. And you got I don't want to. I'm not gonna say Ben Johnson was looking ahead or anything, but I mean certainly when you're doing interviews and you're taking jobs and building a coaching staff, I mean it makes it harder to prepare. It did maybe don't put the ball in Jameson Williams' hands instead, to throw. Maybe let Jared Goff do it. I don't know.
Yeah, that play call confused me. You'd have to think that at some point the instruction has to be, hey, if nothing is there and nothing was there, just chuck it in the stance or tuck it and run.
It was, right? We've seen Penei Sewell, do the end around thing and then pull the ball down before throwing it. So, I mean, in theory, you think that instruction would have been there, right?
Theoretically, I'm not being privy to the helmet, and I guess Jameson Williams wouldn't be on the helmet communication, but at some point, Jared Goff has to say to him, dude, nothing risky. If it's not there, get rid of it. Or, again, just tuck it and run.
And look, it's possible, too, that, Jaden Daniels is just the truth, and this Washington team is and look, I think Dan Quinn, too. This is a guy that, was sort of treated as the retread coach. He flopped out in Atlanta, but I mean, he had the Falcons a half away from winning the Super Bowl with a 28-3 lead, and it's just Tom Brady's warlock voodoo that brought him back. And then you look at the job that he did, coaching of the defense in Dallas, how patient he was, going to find his job. This just might be a really good coaching and quarterbacking combo that they've got in Washington. It's unbelievable, by the way. The fact that this team, what you said, last week, I mean, it's Dan Snyder's been gone for 2 years, like less than 2 years.
Yeah.
And they're already like on the precipice of going to a Super Bowl.
Well, to me, it goes beyond that. I mean, all of this is great, but the fact that they have gone from, not from where they were as a team to where they are potentially going as a team, but as an organization, how you could go from being like Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker in such a short period of time. I mean, they are potentially like, I'll just use the term America's team with the way they're fun offensively. Dan Quinn has been aggressive, much like Dan Campbell and Detroit. Like, I think there was something sad about those two teams having to play one another. Like, I would have loved to have seen that and the vibe that you get from both teams in the NFC Championship game. Two super fun teams. And I'm not saying the Eagles aren't fun. I'm not here criticizing that, but it's clear Detroit's got a vibe that everybody can get behind. And I think Washington also has that vibe now, and that is 100%. We talked to Chick Hernandez in D.C. about this last week. It's 100% due to the ownership change. Yes, Dan Quinn is a huge part of it. Yes, Jaden Daniels. That's the football part of it. But the vibe part of it starts with ownership, which allows all of that other stuff. And I am...
I think you can even take it a step further and say that, you look at, and I wrote this for CBSSports.com. It's up on the site now. It came up yesterday, but it's like Ben Johnson picks the Bears, goes to the Bears, and we can talk about that if we want. But one of the primary reasons he didn't go to Jacksonville or didn't want, it was like the tiebreaker was basically Trent Baalke, the GM there. And I think, and bringing that back to Washington, in Washington you have ownership, a front office, Madden Peters, who's done a great job in his first year, coach in Dan Quinn, who's done a great job in his first year, and then the quarterback. And it's like, I mentioned this last week, but all four of those pieces, being in sync, being in line, being in place is massive for an organization and for, a team that is, has been wandering in the desert of bad football for so long. And you had all these, when you had Dan Snyder there, you had Bruce Allen, you had all these different coaches, you had players who could circumvent the front office and the coaches and talk to the ownership. And it's just like putting all of that stuff in place, and it's not easy to do, but it's like the process that they utilized in Washington to find the right people and to put the right people together. I mean, it's just bearing fruit like immediately.
Yeah, no, it's a great story. Detroit couldn't stop them, so they've had enough injuries on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like the bad luck that is football.
Right.
You win all those games and you get to the playoffs and you're just decimated on defense, and you go up against credit to Cliff Kingsbury. Called a great game.
He did.
Called a great game plan.
He absolutely did.
He declined to interview, and goes out there and they dominate. So I mean, it just sucks for Detroit because these windows are their windows still open. I mean, you lose your OC, maybe you lose your DC, but you still.
Oh, they're going to lose Aaron Glenn. I mean, it sucks for him. I think he's going to take the Jets job, but because I think that's where it's headed, based on everything I've read. The Jets have only had two interviews with one coaching candidate, and it's him.
They've interviewed everybody on the planet.
They did, which is fine.
Woody Johnson's not a great owner, so I turned.
No, he's terrible.
Did they ask you? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Look, as a recovering Jets fan, I said weeks ago, Aaron, don't. You're too good. You're too good to get that Jets all over you. Go to the Saints. Heck, go to the Bears. And the Bears are no prize as an organization either. But two things I think that to me told the story: the interception right before the half that Goff threw, which was an underthrown ball. Unfortunately, the ball it was a little underthrown, but maybe it should have been thrown sooner more than it was underthrown. And the jumping, the 12 men on the field on fourth and 2 or whatever it was. Those two things really conspired. Let me get to the game that I mean, was just unbelievable. I feel bad for Lamar Jackson, but he wasn't wrong. The turnovers in the beginning of the game matter too. And the fumble and the interception, I mean, while the first interception didn't lead to points, the fumble did. And you just can't give away possessions, and that's what they did.
Well, yeah, if you look at even the 4 teams who advanced, Washington, Philadelphia, Buffalo, and Kansas City all had 0 turnovers in their divisional round games. And there's how bad did we lose that game? Those stats out there, like the metrics, where they take the EPA per play. They take did you play better than the team you lost to? And all 4 of the teams that won those games actually probably should have lost if not for the turnover differential. And that was really everything for those games, and particularly for the Ravens. You're talking about the Lions too. It's when you get into these single, playoff matchups, football's a funny game. The ball bounces weird ways. And if you get the bad turnover luck, or if you commit turnovers, like if you make those mistakes, the line is so fine between winning and losing. It's like 2 or 3 plays, right?
Yeah.
And, when you make those mistakes and when you turn the ball over at a higher rate than maybe you did during the regular season, it's going to lead to way more variance and make it way less likely that you advance.
Look, Buffalo had a big lead. We can't pretend that it didn't matter.
Like the Lamar stuff where it's like, I saw it's pretty funny, but it's like, look, it was like a Superman joke, but he was had a shirt on that said regular season man.
Right.
Which is just unfair, I get it. I get the hot takes that Lamar can't close in the playoffs. I just think it's, when you look at the AFC in particular, for the next 10 years, you have to, getting through the playoffs involves probably playing in Buffalo or Kansas City or both of them or in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And it's just hard. It's been like that with Brady and the Patriots for 20 years, and now it's somehow worse.
Yeah, and it's important to only have to play one of those games.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So Kansas City will only have to play one of those games. They played both of them this year. They lost in Buffalo. They won barely at home on opening night against the Ravens when Isaiah Likely's toe was just that amount.
Really.
Yeah, exactly. It was barely. But people wanted to blame Mark Andrews, and I get it, because Andrews did fumble in the fourth quarter, and Andrews dropped a pass. By the way, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember it distinctly because I got into a debate with some people on whether it's Twitter or on the radio. I don't even remember. There was a game against the Steelers. Baltimore tied it, went for 2 to win it. Not tied it, got within 1, went for 2 to win the game, which I respect completely. And it was a pass to Andrews by the pylon. And it wasn't perfect, but it was a catchable ball for one of the best 2 or 3 tight ends in the game. And he didn't catch it. And I'm like, that's your guy not making a play. So I'm surprised that Andrews didn't catch that ball. But I kept thinking about the other opportunity that he had. It wasn't even about the fumble. That was a great defensive play, I thought, by Buffalo. But anyway, I'm not here to slam Mark Andrews, but I think Lamar Jackson wasn't wrong.
Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews both had a pretty mediocre day at the office. And that's
right.
Sort of the bottom line. Buffalo has I think it's interesting that Josh Allen last year led the league in turnovers. People were ripping him. He loses his Stephon Diggs, and then but they are playing a smarter brand of ball this year. Josh Allen in particular, sort of staying maybe more within himself instead of trying to do as many superhero things. And I think the result has been, maybe you don't have quite as many downfield explosive plays. I think the offense was a little conservative, but they didn't have those huge mistakes that the Ravens did. And, it's don't fumble the ball. Don't fumble if you're Lamar. And then don't drop the 2-point conversion, and maybe we're talking about a different game.
Well, yes. Here, I would like to point this out. On the drive that made it 21-19, and Baltimore went for 2, which was essentially Derrick Henry crushing Buffalo's defense. How on this planet, when you've just hot knife through buttered all the way down the field, handing the ball to Derrick Henry, how did they not hand it to him on the 2-point conversion? I thought it was the easiest call in the world. And look, Lamar Jackson, it was a good defensive play also by Buffalo. I feel like you bailed Buffalo out on that play. They could not stop Derrick Henry. Why didn't you hand it to him again?
Yeah, you can definitely make the case that anytime you're inside the 5 and you've got one play to, try and tie the game up, you go to Derrick Henry. I don't have a problem with that. I don't love running the football on those 2-point conversions. And we saw Buffalo try to run. Or maybe it wasn't. I thought that I just think if you run the ball, there is just a chance. If you pass the ball, you sort of have, especially when you have Lamar passing, you sort of have 2 opportunities, right? Where you can roll Lamar out if he's got the look, throw it. If not, take off sprinting for the pylon. So I tend to side on the pass a little bit on the 2-point conversion. But if you pound Derrick Henry up the middle, and if you feel like you can move, Buffalo played really well. I thought
not on that drive.
The game on defense, yeah, not on that one drive.
68 yards on that drive. Were Derrick Henry running the ball?
Yeah.
I just didn't understand. But anyway, I thought going for 2 late third. I think it was late third quarter was fine there. I know people's stop chasing points. I thought that with the weather, you just don't know how many more points are going to be scored in the game. I thought it was a good idea to do that. And normally I'm against it, but anyway, it was fun. Real quick, Buffalo going to do it in Kansas City?
I think so.
Okay.
Kansas City slightly favored. Andy Reid said, he's like, I'm sure Buffalo's favored.
They are.
Andy, come on. Get out of here. It's same stuff Belichick and Brady used to do. KC is slight favorite. I think Buffalo finds a way to win.
Washington at Philadelphia?
Give me the Commies.
All right.
Commies Bills.
I like it.
Maybe we get a little Jim Carrey and Living Color halftime show on the alternate network between the Commies and the Bills like it was the 90s.
Oh, my gosh. All right, I got to run, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. See ya.
Will Brinson here on the Adam Gold Show. One-timers next.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's okay not to be okay. Feelings of loneliness, anger, and worry are completely normal, and you're not alone. If you need help coping, call, text, or chat the free 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. Someone is always there to talk, day or night. Together, we will find the care that works for you. Just call, text, or chat 988 anytime to talk to a trained counselor who will listen, provide support, and connect you to other resources that can help. Let's get through it together. Brought to you by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit, investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
It's that time of year to come see me. Don't let COVID-19 and the flu stop you. So make sure you don't have to cancel on those you love the most.
By getting your flu and COVID vaccines. They're safe and effective.
Both flu and COVID vaccines have been updated to fight against new virus strains.
So make sure you don't miss that family gathering and protect those around you. Ask your healthcare provider about updated flu and COVID-19 shots.
Get protected this season with updated COVID-19 and flu shots. Visit myspot.nc.gov and find yours today.
As fall championships begin, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling home from today's events. Whether you're driving out of town or across town this holiday season, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. During the busiest time of travel, prioritize your safety and buckle up. Every seat, every time. And remember, click it or ticket. It's the law. This message brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people age 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
And we're live here outside the Perez family home, just waiting for the... And there they go! Almost on time this morning. Mom is coming out the front door strong with a double-arm kid carry. Looks like Dad has the bags. Daughter is bringing up the rear. Oh, but the diaper bag wasn't closed. Diapers and toys are everywhere. Ooh, but Mom has just nailed the perfect car seat buckle for the toddler. And now the eldest daughter, who looks to be about 9 or 10, has secured herself in the booster seat. Dad zips the bag closed, and they're off. But looks like Mom doesn't realize her coffee cup is still on the roof of the car. And there it goes. Oh, that's a shame. That mug was a fam favorite.
Don't sweat the small stuff. Just nail the big stuff. Like making sure your kids are buckled correctly in the right seat for their age and size. Learn more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
If you need health coverage due to a life change, healthcare.gov is here for you. Like it was there for Terrence and Jody when they got married. And Sophia when she had a baby. And Gary when he moved and needed new insurance. There are many other ways to qualify. Visit healthcare.gov today to see if you're eligible to enroll. Limited time to enroll. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Adam Gold.
I know Bill Belichick is making his weekly appearance on McAfee right now. It almost looks like he's in the connecting area between the two train cars.
Yeah.
Right?
Girl washing station in a lab.
Carolina hazmat suit he's got on. It's weird.
It has sleeves and everything.
Very, very strange wherever Belichick is.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I'm Adam Gold. Victoria on the ones and twos. I got a little carried away with Will.
It's okay.
Next hour, Brian Geisinger on basketball. What did North Carolina do this weekend? You can't do that.
No.
All right. One-timers.
Okay, so first up, we've got had to pull out my questions because there actually is someone on our YouTube stream. You can comment on the YouTube stream and let us know if you have a question. So Caleb says, this is about the Canes. How much stock are you guys putting into JT Miller trade rumors?
Interesting, because I just responded to somebody on Twitter about that. No. JT Miller is already, I think, 31. He's got 5 years left in a contract. Personality aside, he is known to be, we'll just say, abrasive. He is the type of player that Carolina would love to add to their roster. A hard-nosed, skilled player who plays with an edge. They need that. But he makes $8 million a year. Vancouver's not retaining. On top of that, the Hurricanes don't want to give up what they'd have to give up, which are prospect and draft picks in order to get that. They ain't doing that. The Hurricanes are not going all in on this year's team, not with JT Miller.
All right, another Canes question. So this one is about our goalie issues. Now that Freddie is back, do you still have any kind of concerns, maybe when it's concerning the longevity of the season when it comes to the goalie situation?
Freddie's got to stay healthy. If Frederick Anderson, this is why I said way back when we knew that Freddie was going to be out for an extended period of time, Carolina needed to make a deal. They needed to get an NHL goalie. We went from no Freddie, Piotr is the one by a mile, to Spencer Martin and Dustin Tokarski as the two. They're minor league goalies. That's untenable. So, yeah, my fear is that Anderson won't stay healthy. That's it. That's my fear.
Okay, and last but not least, what are the hiccups with the Canes defense from what you've seen over the last few games?
Inexplicable. I can't, because it's permeated throughout. Honestly, I think Scott Walker's been excellent. I think Jalen Chatfield has been excellent. I think everybody else has had bad moments.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's bow time.
A leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99.
Leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99.
So crispy. And juicy. So much flavor. Stop it. What are you doing?
What, you expect me to get this delicious deal and not say anything?
You're unbelievable.
You're unbelievable.
With a boldly seasoned leg and thigh, choice of fixin', a biscuit, and legendary iced tea, it's a deal so good it's worth repeating. So eat and repeat while it lasts. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time. And there's no time like now to stop what you're doing and join with the K-Yow Cancer Fund in the fight against all cancers affecting women. Now through February 1st, Triangle Area Bojangles are donating all proceeds from Bowberry biscuit sales to the K-Yow Cancer Fund. Just buy a Bowberry biscuit. You'll be doing some good and getting something good. So what are you waiting for? Hurry, it's bow time.
What's this?
We're expanding the North Carolina Education Lottery Winners Club.
That's a pretty big wrecking ball.
Well, with all these new scratch-offs, this place is going to be packed with new winners. Okay, let's go ahead and knock this wall down. This is where we're putting the polo field. Whoa, patience, Trixie.
This month's tickets are loaded with $150 million in total prizes. The Winners Club awaits. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning range from 3.31 to 4.55. Problem gambling helpline 877-718-5543.
Tim Donnelly here for Zero Res. And right now, Zero Res has the biggest sale ever going on in celebration of the new year. Make sure you get all that 2024 dirt behind and look ahead to 2025. That's right, out the door 2024. We're feeling fresh, clean, and zero-resified in 2025. Right now, the best part is it's all gone from 2024. Carpets, tiles, rugs, upholstery. Basically every surface in your house can be zero-resified and leave that dirt behind. The offer right now, 3 rooms of carpets cleaned starting at just $109 and take an additional $100 off your air ducts cleaning. The offer is valid through January 31st, so be sure to get on it now. Visit ZeroResRaleigh.com or call 919-995-0000 and ask for the 99.9 The Fan Station Special. Spell it forward or backward, it spells the same, Zero Res.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right, so we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go, shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
They score! WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
You're listening to The Adam Gold Show.
5 seconds to go. They're chasing after Ryan Day, who just threw his headset high in the air. They're trying to get him with a Gatorade bucket. Here's the last snap, barring a penalty. Leonard rolls to his right, throws across the middle, caught by Greathouse, down at the 40-yard line. Ohio State has won the national championship. And a drenched Ryan Day and the jubilant Buckeyes are celebrating all over this field.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria on the ones and twos. That was the voice of Sean McDonough, who had the radio call of the national championship game last night. And yes, congratulations to Ohio State. Man, are Hurricanes fans hot after JT Miller.
Really?
Okay.
Did the one-timers stir it up even more?
Well, no, it was interesting that you brought it up through the YouTube stream, and I do a bad job, honestly, of reminding everybody that yes, if you can watch the show live on YouTube, you can see my disgusted face when bad things happen. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But it was already on my timeline because, and this is what happens it's not just hockey, it's any sport, but as you get closer to trade deadline, when moves are going to be made, there are all sorts of wild rumors. First of all, this is the 7th year that Tom Dundon has been the majority owner. Now he's the sole owner. For the first year, he and Peter Karmanos were co-owners, although Dundon owned a majority of the team. But this is the 7th year. In one of those years, last year, the Hurricanes made a major free agent signing. They did 2 last year. Remember, Dmitry Orlov and Michael Bunting. And in one of those years, also last year, they made a significant trade deadline addition. I know Hurricanes fans will say, well, what about Vincent Trocheck during the second year, right? And I'm like, okay, that wasn't really a trade deadline addition because what the Hurricanes were at that point, they were sort of, at the time they acquired Trocheck, they were actually outside of the playoff line. Or they were right there in the wild card hunt, but I think they were just outside of it. They didn't get inside of it until winning a couple of games before the shutdown. But that trade was as much about getting rid of Eric Halla as it was about acquiring a player that had 2 more years left on a contract. They had Vincent Trocheck for 2 more years after that. It was more about the future than it was about the present. And Trocheck was a very good Hurricane. I'm not going to get into the details of, why I think he left or anything like that, why he signed that free agent deal with the Rangers. But they added him, and they added Brady Shea. Again, remember the circumstances there in that Dougie Hamilton had a broken leg. Brett Pesce needed shoulder surgery. So they were down 2 of their top 4 defensemen, and they needed an NHL defenseman. Brady Shea was kind of a 6th, 7th defenseman for the Rangers. And the truth of the matter is that when the Hurricanes acquired Brady Shea, and this I know for a fact, they liked everything about the player except the contract. He was like a 6-7 defenseman for them, but he was making more than $5 million a year. They hated that. So, again, extenuating circumstances led to those 2 moves. As it turned out, the Shea trade is one of the best trades that this organization ever made. He was an elite Hurricane. The Hurricanes miss Brady Shea. I would argue they miss Brady Shea maybe more than they miss any of the players who left. That kind of includes Brett Pesce, because Shea, to me, had gotten at least equal to Pesce defensively because he could skate better, and he added that offensive element. But they were never going to keep him based on Slavin here and Nikishin's coming in next season. Anyway, so you have to understand what the Hurricanes are as an organization. They will add, I think, to this group on the edges, on the fringes, barring an injury. If they're playing poorly, maybe they actually busted up a little bit, but I don't think so, because I don't think they'll be playing poorly. And I do think that the core of this team will stay intact. I know what management likes. I know the players that they like. I know what they value. And they're probably not going to deviate from it. I think it'll be an unusual set of circumstances to see the Hurricanes go into the trade market at or near the deadline and make a splash. Again, last year, I could not have been more wrong twice. I said they wouldn't be a player in free agency before the season started. Orloff and Bunting. I said well, why are we talking about Jake Gensel? They're not going to go out. What do you mean they got Jake Gensel? Of course, they used Michael Bunting to get Jake Gensel, but still, I was shocked. And when they didn't win it, or at least get another round further, or maybe to the Stanley Cup Finals, I do believe that they are less likely to do something now unless they absolutely believe they can't win without it. And it'll be a hockey deal. It will not be a rental. They will not do rentals at all. And two things about JT Miller. I mentioned it before. Already 31. 5 more years after this one left on his contract. He makes roughly $8 million a year. I think it's a shade over. The Hurricanes, yeah, they'd have to put together a package of money going back the other way, but they're not paying somebody into his late 30s $8 million a year, who, by the way, has been kind of a problem in that locker room. Could Carolina's locker room handle JT Miller? In the short term, yes. In the long term, probably not. Remember, they got rid of Eric Halla for a lot of the same reasons. He became a difficult person to get along with. And I think Carolina needs a JT Miller type. I've said this before. It just doesn't have to be JT Miller. I think that's the part of this equation that we need to come to grips with. It doesn't have to be that guy. As a player, yes, JT Miller would be great on this team. But JT Miller, the player, I don't know about that. All right, a couple of other things I want to get to, including Carolina plays at Wake Forest tonight. So remember when the Tar Heels had won, what was it, 4 in a row? 4 in a row or 5 in a row before this weekend? And we had been talking about this going into the weekend, going, yeah, they've won a bunch of games, and that's good. Still don't know how good they are. But what they can't do, they cannot lose a bad game. Stanford is a bad loss. It's a really bad loss. It's a quad 3 loss. You can't do that. When you've got one good win on your resume. North Carolina, you can't lose bad games. Duke can lose to Boston College if they want to, and it doesn't matter because they've got a bunch of good wins, and they're going to get more. But North Carolina can't afford it. And what it did, I thought, this weekend was it exposed a couple of North Carolina problems. One, the Jalen Washington impact at NC State. I mean, it's NC State, who's also got their own issues. Well done to lose at home to Cal. We're going to talk to Brian Geisinger in about 10 minutes about this. I don't even know how to make sense of NC State at this point. But North Carolina, I think I have a pretty good handle on. They're not very good defensively. They're not very good defensively on the perimeter. And Jalen Blakes beat him. 20-some-odd points. He makes the drive and the 2 free throws, and then he gets free for a mid-range shot and knocks that down to win the game. And here's the thing, and maybe this is just the pettiness of fandom, but Duke, who's right now, there's really nobody who's second place in the league. Even their cast-offs are picking up ACC wins. Jaden Schutt beat NC State in Blacksburg when Virginia Tech rallied from 12 down in the last 6.5 minutes to win that game. I think he scored the last 9 points for Virginia Tech. And Jalen Blakes, who was at Duke last year, had a big game for Stanford. Here's Blakes after the game.
I would be lying to you if I didn't think about having this moment the night before the game. I was in my hotel room thinking about Austin Rivers' shot, and I was thinking I would have a moment like that. And, God works in mysterious ways, and, I'm grateful that, Coach trusted me, and then my teammates trusted me to have the ball at the end of the game like that. And, it's a big win for Stanford, beating one of the, most historic teams in the country. It was a special moment, when, I still have Duke blood in me, so it's still GTHC.
I don't know, man.
Never goes out. Love it. I love it.
Jalen Blake. Like, these guys came to Duke for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? And then they realized, well, okay, we got to go somewhere else if we actually want to play.
Yeah. That's what makes rivalries fun.
So, UNC, please. I don't even. Louisville right now is 7-1. They're the second best team in the league based on they're ranked. They're, I think, 25th. If I'm not mistaken, I think I saw they were ranked 25th. I don't pay a great deal of attention to the college basketball rankings. I really don't. They don't really matter, to be honest. They really don't matter. The only thing that matters are those power, those net, Ken Palm. Those are the things that matter to the committee. The Associated Press or the coaches poll rankings don't really matter. So I was good for Louisville to be ranked, but I'm not sure. I think Louisville might be the second best team. I still think it's probably Clemson or Pitt, but those to me are the 4 or the 3 next teams. Like, I don't think Carolina is better than Pitt or Clemson or Louisville. I really don't. They miss out in a lot of different areas. NC State is just kind of a mess. I know Kevin Keats is kind of like scratching his head why they're not good in late game situations. I just think for the most part, they're just not a very good basketball team. They could use a go-to guy, but I think it goes beyond that. I just think that we forget that they were an NIT team last year until Michael O'Connell forced overtime against Virginia. And there were some other things that happened before then too, but they were an NIT team. So last year was one of the all-time fun, exciting runs that we have seen in this area, right? It really was super fun and improbable. And credit to them, it just shows you that just about anybody can beat anybody in basketball. But it wasn't a team that really was, that was not them all year. And they're not as good this year as they were last year. What's worse, I think, in this whole equation is that the ACC is significantly down from even last year. And, Carolina and State are both really not very good. Somebody asked me today, is Hubert Davis on the hot seat? I mean, I know that there are people, on social media that want him fired, but I don't believe he's on the hot seat. Although if the year spirals and recruiting isn't good, then certainly next year is a problem. Because just look at the team. Team isn't good. Ian Jackson's great. I think Drake Powell's a really good player. The rest of it, I don't think is very good. I really don't. All right, Brian Geisinger on the other side. We'll try to assess what NC State is. What about UNC? And, is Duke the wagon that they look to be? Next.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Tonight's forecast calls for Hurricanes hockey.
Here's Aho with a chance, and he scores! And Sebastian Aho has tied it at 2.
Storm Watch with Adam Gold at 7:30. Puck drop at 8.
He scores! Jackson Blake gets the stick to it, and Carolina scores on the power play to take a 3-2 lead.
On your exclusive home for the Carolina Hurricanes, 99.9 The Fan.
Hey, Greater Triangle area. Chick-fil-A wants to invite you to enjoy a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit or sandwich on us in the Chick-fil-A app. Join us through January 25th to get your reward for a Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit from open to 10:30 a.m. or Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich from 10:30 to close by downloading and signing in to your Chick-fil-A app with location services on in the Greater Triangle area. Valid at participating Greater Triangle area Chick-fil-A restaurants only. Offer subject to availability. Rewards are single use only. Limit 1 per person per Chick-fil-A 1 account. See further details in the app.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Don't go through another year with all that high interest debt. Let Loan Pronto wipe it all out now. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan makes it easy to pay off all your credit cards or tackle that 2025 home improvement project. Get cash in your pocket fast. No appraisals, no paperwork, no waiting. Loan Pronto's AI-driven tech gets you approved and funded in as little as 1 day. One client got $150,000 approved in under 24 hours, paid off all their credit cards, 2 cars, and a personal loan, saving over $1,500 per month. With low fixed rates and lightning fast transfers, you can do it too. Consolidate debt, improve your home, take control of your finances. Imagine being credit card debt-free by this time next week. Don't wait. Call Loan Pronto now, 919-381-1760, or visit loanpronto.com. Get a free rate quote with no hard credit pull, 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Our favorite reason to choose Diamonds Direct over any other jeweler? Free service for life with no fine print. That's right. When you buy your engagement ring or any piece of jewelry at Diamonds Direct, you will never have to pay a dime in the future for sizing, cleaning, or routine maintenance. Even if she accidentally knocks out a side accent diamond, Diamonds Direct will replace it free. Now, other stores claim to offer warranties, but the catch is that they won't honor it unless you bring your ring in for regular inspections. But at Diamonds Direct, inspections are never required. There's
There's no gotcha clause, no fine print, no looking for ways to void the warranty. Plain and simple, at Diamonds Direct, we stand behind what we sell, and we're committed to service it at no charge for life, period. Diamonds Direct, the jeweler you can trust with a no questions asked 100% free lifetime warranty with no strings attached. Come see us to learn more. Official jeweler of the Carolina Hurricanes and proud sponsor of NC State Athletics, and proud to call the Triangle home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
Easy Cater. It's all the food for your workplace, all in one place. With over 100,000 restaurants nationwide on one platform. Whether you need food for company meetings or events, daily employee lunches, or your next lunch and learn, Easy Cater makes food for work, work. And it doesn't stop at lunch. With Easy Cater, you've got great breakfast options, snacks, treats, and more. Whenever and wherever work happens, Easy Cater's here to make the food happen. Order now at easycater.com.
This is Adam Gold.
Home runs are homers, not dingers, not jacks, not bombs. Can I use tater?
I know. Can we say going yard?
Oh, yes.
Right?
If we can't exaggerate, if we can't use colorful, flowery metaphors and descriptions, why are we here?
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria on the ones and twos. North Carolina's at Wake Forest tonight. It's a good quad 2 opportunity for the Tar Heels. Actually, if Wake Forest continues to win, it could end up being a quad 1 opportunity for the Tar Heels. Wake has won 5 in a row. Of course, I think they have 4 of the 5 wins are against teams that are ranked outside the 100 in the net rating. Take that for what it is. Brian Geisinger, who normally joins us on Monday, but this is our Monday, so he's joining us on a Tuesday. He joins us on the Adam Gold Show. Can I just ask you real quick about what happened to the Tar Heels over the weekend?
Yeah.
How do you lose that game?
Well, I mean, I do think it starts with the fact that Stanford is they're a challenge to deal with. In part because Kyle Smith is a good coach, and they have a guy in Maxime Reynaud who is an NBA player, maybe even a late first-round pick in the 2025 draft, and it just speaks to how difficult it is to match up with a team that has a guy like that, like a stretch 5 in college basketball that can shoot and pass. And he's an excellent shooter. He hit some big threes for them, including one from the corner down the stretch. And it just felt like UNC centers had trouble with him in space. And that's part of that is how UNC guards pick and roll. I mean, we talk about it all the time when I come on here, but UNC plays a lot of drop coverage. They weak ball screens too. And so with Stanford, I mean, he was open on the pick and pop every time in that game, and if anything, I mean, I know Ian Jackson had a couple of threes for UNC that just slipped out, and maybe if 1 or 2 of those go in, UNC wins. But Stanford could say the same thing, with Reynaud. I thought UNC's weak side coverages, when Reynaud catches the ball in space on a pick and pop, there's got to be someone, whether it's Trimble or Jackson on the weak side, has got to be able to stunt and sort of dig in his direction a little bit. And I thought those didn't really quite hit, and at times they were just non-existent. And then Jalen Blake's just had himself a day, man. He really did. He hit the game winner, but he hit tough shots and got into the paint all game. I thought UNC should have come. Looking back at my notes this morning, I kept being why is Seth Trimble not on Jalen Blake's? Why is Seth Trimble not on Jalen Blake's? Now, Seth Trimble was put on Jalen Blake's on the last possession of the game,
right?
And Jalen probably hit a game winner. But I thought Stanford did a good job of either posting up Jalen Blake's or just creating driving opportunities for him to go at guys like Cadeau and R.J. Davis. He's strong enough to outmuscle some of those guys. And then I just thought Jackson had a tough cold shooting game. And, they really need his spot-up shooting to, really unlock those, 3 and 4 guard lineups. There wasn't enough Drake Powell for me. He's too good to be, just to wonder, where he was for 2 hours out on the court, kind of, He's way too good. And I know UNC went small, but at times. But I need a little bit more. UNC needs to tap more into Powell, in my opinion. But I think really this just speaks to Stanford, the way they defend. They played a lot of that 1-3-1 zone that gave UNC some issues. They play a lot of deep drop coverage that took away the rim, turned UNC into a jump shooting team. And then on the other side, just like what Raynaud does in terms of like spacing the floor and Stanford's spacing template and like what that allows Jalen Blakes to do as a driver is tough. And they got a big one on the road. It was really, really impressive from the Cardinal.
I'm not arguing whether or not it was a impressive win for Stanford. But by the way, the answer to the trivia question is who's got the most quad one wins outside of the top 4 teams in the net ratings in the ACC? The answer is Stanford. They've got 2. After you get past the top 4, Duke, Louisville, Clemson, and Pitt. The next 14 teams combined have 5, and Stanford's got 2 of them. Brian, you followed the ACC for a long time too. Can you recall the league being this? I'll just say mediocre.
I feel like there was a time in the last. I'm blanking on like the exact year. I want to say maybe even was like the sort of like COVID year of 2020, 2021 when like Virginia was probably the best team in the conference, but they ended up losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Ohio up in Bloomington. And like, I mean, FSU was like, I guess was pretty good that season. But it's the year that like Josh Pastner and Georgia Tech won the ACC with Jose Alvarado and Moses Wright, which like, you know, two very good players.
Right.
But like, you know, they topped out with a loss to, or FSU topped out with a loss in the Sweet 16 to Michigan. So like, I would say like you don't have to go like too far back to find. I mean, that was like a weird season for a million different reasons, and you know, Duke didn't make the tournament. Jalen Johnson left in January. It was a weird year. UNC had a lot of talent, but a lot of like mismatched pieces in the front court with, you know, Walker Kessler, Day'Ron Sharp, Garrison Brooks, and Armando Bacot, you know, all trying to split time. Caleb Love and Archie Davis were on that team. It's crazy those guys are still in college basketball. But
right.
I would say then that's probably like the closest one to that. In that year, while maybe there was a little bit more balance in the league, that year the ACC did not have a team like Duke. That is like currently number 1 in the country in adjusted efficiency and is like a blue chip, Final Four contender.
So let me ask you this question about Duke real quick because I want to ask you about NC State. I personally think North Carolina they have some really nice pieces. Ian Jackson, Drake Powell. I assume at some point R.J. Davis is going to return to being R.J. Davis. I just think that's an assumption I'll rock for the rest of the year. I'll never not think that he's going to make his next one, especially his next big shot, because we've seen it too many times. Seth Trimble. First of all, I thought Jalen Blake that final play. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if you can guard it. You know, he drives you and then he steps back. I just don't know if you can really guard that. I think Seth did maybe the best he could, and at that situation, you got to be looking for it.
He closed off the rim and forced Blake's take a shot that he makes probably like 35% of the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But I just think they're small, and the Jalen Washington game at State, that was great, but I don't anticipate seeing that against good players, good teams, and they just have nothing around the rim. They have like role players inside. There's nobody that you have to worry about.
To me, that's where like Powell has to become more of a thing. I know he's like 6'5" and like, a wing or whatever, but like he's long-armed and athletic. Like I think he's probably floating around like, a sub 15% usage rate for the season. Yeah, 13% usage rate for Powell this year. Like, that's got to get up. And I mean, some of that's on him, but UNC's got to find ways to, like, involve this guy.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the lineup data for their four-guard looks, UNC's actually lost those minutes with Davis, Cadeau, Trimble, and Jackson on the court. They're -7 in 45 minutes with those dudes on the floor with an offensive rating of 104 points for 100 possessions. That's not good enough. That kind of lineup should be scoring 120 plus points for 100 possessions. They're just not. They can't really pressure the rim. They settle for a lot of jump shots.
Yeah, they do, and R.J. Davis isn't making a lot of them. Neither is Elliot Cadeau, and it's defensively, it's not a good lineup either. So let me just quickly get to Duke, because I said this is my comparison for them. To me, look, I'm not saying they're the best team in the country. I think there's a lot of teams that look like the best team in the country, whether it's Auburn or Tennessee. Or at times it's Kansas. I know they've fallen on some weird times. Duke is definitely on a short list of teams that can win a national championship. Or maybe it's a long list. I don't know. But Duke is definitely on the list. But my fear is that we are looking like the West Coast Conference, in that they're going to go throughout the rest of the season and they're not going to play anybody that, unless Duke is asleep at the wheel, can really beat them, except for Illinois at Madison Square Garden. So, I think that's the best game that they've got left. But I worry that we're going to go through, like, Gonzaga. I insist Gonzaga is hampered when they get to the tournament because they're not used to the grind night in and night out. There are too many games where they can just kind of sleep and still win by 20. And I think we've at times seen that already from Duke. They weren't good against BC early. They weren't good defensively against Notre Dame. So I'm just that is my fear about the Blue Devils.
Yeah. Gonzaga did get 2 NCAA title games.
They did.
4 years apart.
They did.
2017 and 21. They lost both, including one to the Tar Heels. But yeah, the fact that they had the 21, we were literally just talking about the 2020-2021 season. But yeah, Gonzaga wins 31 games to start the year,
right?
And Baylor destroys them in the title game. It feels like it was a long time ago. But no, I think you're like, there's an extent, like the Illinois game is kind of like a nice thing, honestly, for this very reason. One, it'll be a super fun matchup of some future lottery picks on the court, and like it's a an interesting, prove it game between the ACC and the Big Ten. But like, yeah, they're absolutely the best opponent that Duke has on the schedule throughout the year. I still think there's enough like big games baked into this, including like the 2 UNC games. Like, I still think UNC has enough talent, plus that rivalry is like enough to sort of like, juice those games and make them sort of like at least like feel big. Clemson's a top 25 team. Wake, offensively, like they're pretty strapped right now, but they're getting better with Tyler Johnson being, installed at the point. Good defensive team. Steve Forbes is a great coach. So like there's still some juice on the schedule. What I think Duke needs to do, and I sort of wrote about this today, or something that published today, I should say, at my Substack page, is like they need to be like experimenting with stuff too. And I'm sure there's like a psychological, like it's going to be up to the staff to like challenge these guys and find ways to motivate them and all that, keep them plugged in, like all that sort of stuff. But like this is the time to try new stuff, including playing a little bit more with Cooper Flagg and Mason Gillis as a small ball 4-5 duo, or Cooper Flagg plus 4 guards and wings on the court at the same time, which like Duke has done some in the last couple of games with Malik Brown being out of the lineup.
Look, whatever they're doing, it's been fun to watch. The game at BC, it's been crazy. Isaiah Evans, you and I talked before the season, like Isaiah Evans wasn't even going to play.
And now look at him, 47% on threes. He's already. I was looking at this early. He's already made 32 threes this season. He's in 15 games.
I know.
The guy really doesn't even play like all that much, even still. And like that his shooting is just nutty. It just is. You have a guy like that can. It just shows you this is like what. If Jared McCain had come back, this is like what McCain would have looked like. Obviously, McCain's a different player, but just having that kind of like quick trigger shooter, next to Cooper, like what that looks like. And obviously, Tyrese Proctor's been amazing shooting from deep too, and Knippel's been outstanding, with the BC game notwithstanding. But yeah, Evans, man, true believer over here. And like I think I said this before too, Gold, but like Isaiah's nailing the small stuff for them defensively. Like he really is, like switching around, helping protect the rim, boxing out Boston College's center when he gets switched on to them, making the right rotations. He's doing a lot of little things that are helping him stay on the court, and that really amplifies his shooting and his impact even more on the offensive side of the floor.
All right, now let's get to NC State. last year we got to a point in the season, and I think it was later than we are right now. Last year we got to a certain point of the season, and I said, here's the mission for NC State. Figure out how to play your best basketball, and then just make sure you're ready with that at the end of the season and just see what happens. And I am not in any way trying to say I was prescient about last year. To me, the way they did it, I was already done with DJ Burns. So to me, it had nothing to do with DJ Burns, and I certainly was not on the Michael O'Connell will lead them train. It was a completely different thing for me. So I was not right about anything. But I think we're here with NC State. I think for Kevin Keatts over the next 6 weeks or whatever you've got left, figure out how you play your best ball and get to that, because I'm just stunned by how it's not even mediocre at this point. I'm stunned by it.
Yeah, I think it was this time a year ago. Things were like tentatively good because they were like 5-1 in ACC play. This is before like the bottom fell out,
right,
and then before they just like had their like moment of God moment down the stretch. But like this season I keep coming back to this. I mean, one, it's not a very good defensive team, and I think repeatedly, you've seen teams have just poked at their, hedging a lot of ball screens with Ben Middlebrooks and Brendan Hatfield this season, and like they don't have the size or the rotation capabilities to really like cover up for that on the backside. I think they're in rotation automatically on every play, and they don't have the personnel to really cover up for that. To me, though, the bigger issue is the offense, which has been it's been stuck in the mud since November 4th. I mean, a lot of things have been stuck in the mud since November 4th. But like they've just never really got going. 1 of 10 shooting from threes against Cal. They made Dontre Styles hit a three about 3.5 minutes into the game. State went the final 36.5 minutes without a three in that game, and they still almost won. Ultimately, I think State has found some stuff the last couple of games where they were able to create a little bit better of an offense, like more primary initiation for Marcus Hill with guys like Jaden Taylor, Breon Pass, and even we saw Paul McNeil a little bit at Virginia Tech too, like finding ways to get the ball in his hands with some shooters around him, Styles being one of the other guys, and having Middlebrooks run pick and roll. But it's hard for them to get to that, and even then, they just don't really have a ton of options to really like open this thing up and amp up the offense. Like, I do think they need to try McNeil more. I think that's the thing they have to do.
Well, Kevin Keatts said that a week ago, that we're going to start seeing more of him.
And he played played a couple of minutes against Virginia Tech and played none against Cal. Though there were like plenty of opportunities, they need. It was a close game, obviously, but they were desperate for someone to come in and juice it offensively. I do think I have full. Michael O'Connell is minted. His legacy is minted at NC State. He's one of the biggest shots in program history, conference history, college basketball history. He was unbelievable for them down the stretch. Like, he's a hero. He shouldn't have to pay for a meal in Raleigh for the rest of his life. Like, whatever you want to say. And he's a good player, and he does a lot of like really nice things for them and gets them going in transition. He's a good passer, good decision maker. But you could see with Cal how they're guarding him. Drop coverage, going under screens. And so an NC State offense that's really like fighting to get things going. I mean, they can't get into the paint. They can't get the defense in rotation. And so the ball is just sticking in the middle third of the court, and it's tough for them to like get it going to the rim, and it leads to a lot of, tough late clock off the dribble shots. So I'd like for them to find more ways to get Marcus Hill going as a driver and a creator for this team, and to get some shooting around him. Other than that, I mean, again, you could try more Paul McNeil. Unfortunately, we still haven't seen Mike James yet this season.
Right.
So they're limited in terms of like cards they can play, but that's maybe one more thing that they could try.
I know they got a week. They got a week off. Probably at a good time for them, coming off the loss to Cal. Brian.
SMU, Duke, and Clemson, it's going to be pretty brutal for them coming up ahead, too. But yes.
But at least they'll have a few days of practice to try and figure something out. Brian Geisinger, everywhere, get the Substack, split the action at bgeis_bird or on Blue Sky. at B. Geisinger, right?
Yep, I'm there.
You're awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yep, take care.
You got it. Brian Geisinger here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, we're going to stretch. We will place bets. I'm going to buy a Hurricanes win. By the way, I did correctly predict that the Hurricanes would beat Vegas on Friday. I could feel it. I could feel it. It was the return of Frederick Anderson that had me feeling so good. Can we get another Pyotr Kochetkov game like he played against the Golden Knights? Might need it against Dallas. Talk about it next.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
It's that time of year when we gear up to cheer on our favorite team. Don't let COVID-19 and the flu stop you. So make sure you don't have to cancel on the team you love the most by getting your flu and COVID vaccines. They are safe and effective. Both flu and COVID vaccines have been updated to fight against new virus strains spreading this fall and winter. So make sure you don't miss the big game and you protect those around you. Ask your healthcare provider about updated flu and COVID-19 shots.
Visit myspot.nc.gov and find yours today.
There is nothing quite like the NFL playoffs. One big game after another, and right now, FanDuel has decided that big games deserve bigger payouts. Adam Gold from my friends at FanDuel, and this is why they're the number one sports book in America, and they're giving customers a same-game parlay profit boost every game day during the NFL playoffs. Doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or not. If you already have an account, you win too. You'll score a bigger payout if your single-game parlay hits. Don't watch on the sidelines. FanDuel.com/AGS. FanDuel.com/AGS. The FanDuel same-game parlay profit boost during the NFL playoffs. Let's play. 21 and over and present in North Carolina. Opt-in required. Minimum 3-leg parlay required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and maximum wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
I'm Faith. I work as an American Sign Language interpreter, and I just graduated from my bachelor's program. I texted 988 because at the moment where I needed help, I realized that I didn't have access to English at the moment. Sometimes speaking gets hard for me, and they just helped me calm down, and then I was able to find a friend. It's free, and you can get in touch with people who are trained to help through all sorts of crises.
Call, text, or chat 988 24/7.
As fall championships begin, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling home from today's events. Whether you're driving out of town or across town this holiday season, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. During the busiest time of travel, prioritize your safety and buckle up. Every seat, every time. And remember, click it or ticket, it's the law. This message brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people age 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
If you recently lost health coverage due to a life change, healthcare.gov is here for you. Like it was there for Marcus when he lost his job, and Keisha when she turned 26 and lost her parents' insurance, and Elena when she went off Medicaid. There are many other ways to qualify. Visit healthcare.gov today to see if you're eligible to enroll. Limited time to enroll. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Adam Gold.
80-second mark, I scream in the booth. I screamed in the booth, why the heck is he still on the ice?
Did you say it in Finnish?
I should have.
Yes.
No, he wouldn't. He curses in English.
He does.
All right, 2 seconds later, he scored.
Yes.
And I went, oh, that's why. That's what.
The Adam Gold Show.
It's the Adam Gold Show. False start. Victoria is producing the program. So the conversation on my timeline about trading for JT Miller, I forget exactly who pointed it out, and he's right, 100% right. Whether or not I believe it makes sense for the Hurricanes, that type of player makes great sense for Carolina, but not that particular player. In my opinion, and I'm fairly certain that's the way the organization feels. Whether or not that ever happens or anything like it ever happens is secondary to what I'm about to say. It is actually okay to just goof around and play armchair GM on social media. My fault. So, as a person pointed out, well, it's okay to talk about it. And I went, fair point. You're right. Let's have some fun. But, yeah, that trade ain't happening. They're not giving up assets for JT Miller. With all of that said, I do think the Hurricanes, now that given health, I think their goaltending is taken care of for now. Again, they still need health. There are still 30-some-odd games left in the season, and Frederik Andersen, it's been a minute since he has lasted 30-some-odd, not that he's going to play all these, he's going to play half of them. I'm fairly certain that we're going to see an alternation. Was that English? An alternating situation between Andersen and Kochetkov. That we're going to see that for the most part the rest of the way, which they should. Maybe to keep both guys healthy. But I do think that barring something being obvious, Andersen will start game one of the playoffs. Do they alternate in the playoffs? I don't think so. But I think we'll see more of than a cameo from Kochetkov in the playoffs. I think it'll be maybe, play two, Kochetkov plays one. Play two, something more along those lines. Anyway, goaltending is taken care of, theoretically. Now, the two major things that must change between now and the time that the Hurricanes are getting ready for the stretch drive of the playoffs is they got to get Aho, Necas, and Svechnikov offensively looking like themselves. Aho is the closest to being effective. Necas was certainly impactful in the third period last night, but he wasn't really great. Maybe this started in the second period, but he hasn't been great lately. But it was certainly a bunch of good signs yesterday. And Svech is still kind of just wandering. There are moments where he looks like the power forward they need him to be, and if he could convince himself that his only job right now playing with Aho and Blake is to be a wrecking ball, fly around, knock people on their rear ends, be a power forward, scare the bejesus, to borrow from Caddyshack, out of enemy defenders, and create the space that Aho and Blake can use. If Andre did that, he'd score his goals, he'd get his points, and the Hurricanes would have a top scoring line. But right now they're relying too much on Jordan Staal, Jordan Martinook, and Seth Jarvis to provide the offense, and they have been good, but it's probably not a good recipe. That and the defense has to stop. I don't know what happened last night. They just took turns looking bad. Slavin, Orlov, Burns, all three had awful moments last night. I thought Sean Walker, I don't know, I think I called him Scott Walker before. Sean Walker and Jalen Chatfield, to me, were Carolina's two best defensive players last night, but I'm not sure anybody was. I thought Chatfield was clearly good. I'm not sure anybody else was really that good. All right, let's stretch.
Okay, so I was reading this article about how close Mahomes is to Brady's record for postseason wins. He still has a little ways to go, but he is catching up. So Tom Brady has the most postseason wins.
It's like 31, isn't it?
It's 35.
35.
Yes. And Mahomes, he has 16.
However, is that close?
Well, if you look at how many seasons it took Brady 10 seasons to get 16 wins, while it's taken Mahomes 8. So there's still time.
Oh, so he's trending.
Yeah, he's on the trend of getting there. So if he sticks with it a little bit longer, especially if they keep adding more games, maybe they'll,
Yeah, but I'm not sure they're going to add more playoff games.
Yeah, postseason games. So
he's going to have to stop being the 1 seed.
Yeah, exactly. Stink a little more, Mahomes. Like, you gotta get out there.
When you said close, I'm like, wait a second. I know Brady was in the 30s. I actually thought it was 31.
Yep.
So he's 35. Mm-hmm. So Mahomes is on 16 right now?
Yep.
So
19 left.
He's only 19 short. So he needs to do better.
At being bad.
He needs to do better than he has done so far.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
That's hard.
So we'll see if he does. Yeah. But the other quarterbacks that have come close to Mahomes, at least, Joe Montana with 14. He had 14 with the 49ers and 2 with the Chiefs.
So that's 16.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got 16.
He does.
Yeah.
And then there's also, going down the list, John Elway, Peyton Manning, Steve Young, and Terry Bradshaw all have 14. Big Ben Roethlisberger and Brett Favre, they all have 13. And Aaron Rodgers with 12.
12.
I don't think he's going to make it to 13.
No more. Zero more for Aaron Rodgers.
I think he's done there. So, yeah, we'll see if Mahomes can catch up to Tom Brady.
No.
I
mean, he can.
So. He can.
He's gonna catch up.
Yes.
But I mean, another 19.
I know. This is gonna be tough. How long is he gonna keep doing that? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see though. But he's got to have 19 more to catch up to Tom. Now, also, if you are, that's the wrong one. That's our one-timers. So, also, if you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan, then you're happy this weekend. But if you're also a Zach Bryan fan, I should say, then you might be excited to hear that if the Eagles win this coming round versus the Commanders, he is going to be releasing a new song because he made a social post. I don't know anything from Zach Brown, but he made a social post that, quote, "If the Birds win the NFC, my new song, Blue Jean Baby, will be out on Sunday night." So if you're interested in that, then I don't know, but that's going to come out. I'm sure it will come out eventually, even if they lose, but it may just not come out early.
He's going to bury the song. That'd be good. That'd be fun.
That would be like, all right, I'm going to can this if they stink, but yeah. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. You know what else we'll see how it goes? Our bets.
Place your bets. Place your bets. Here we are. I bet you slice into the woods $100.
Gambling is illegal at Bushwood, sir, and I never slide.
Okay, you can owe me. I owe you nothing.
All right, let's do this. I'm excited.
Tell you what, I'm so mad at myself because I basically went 3 for 3 for the picks, the UFC picks last Friday.
Right.
And I didn't use anything.
What did I tell you?
But units. That's all I had because my underdogs won. Yuri and Aileen Perez. Remember me telling you about Aileen? They both won. So, and Jelton. So, yeah. No real units. So just I'm so mad about it. But this is all going to be on the ice today. So first up, the Ottawa Senators are going to be in New York taking on the Rangers. I think the Rangers will probably come away with a win, but I could see this being high scoring. So give me the Rangers to win and over 5.5. That's plus 220.
All right. See, I kind of didn't like the Rangers, and I wasn't going to do that. I kind of like Ottawa in that game. But you know me, I'm always looking for value. So I'm going to give you value of 2 picks, okay? I have Montreal at home to Tampa Bay. Montreal's been playing really well. Tampa's dynamite, but Montreal's been playing really well. And I like Anaheim at home to Florida tonight, plus 220. Now, if you got a little frisky and you wanted to parlay that, it's plus 610. But you're more than welcome to just split them up and do them individually.
Yes. Yeah, parlays always get me. Well, my next one, Washington Capitals are going to be in Edmonton taking on the Oilers. I could definitely see this being a high-scoring game because, the Oilers like to score 6 by themselves usually. So give me the Oilers to win this one. It's going to be tough, but I'm taking the over 5.5. That's plus 185.
All right. Canes in Dallas tonight.
Yep.
I'm feeling overtime.
Oh, another overtime.
And I'm feeling the Canes again.
Yes.
Plus 725 if the Canes win in overtime. If you're interested.
Nice. And I'm going to take Jarvie. Why not? Be an anytime goal scorer, plus 230.
I like Martinook also at plus 500 because he's the only one on that line that hasn't scored yet. Big game tonight for the Hurricanes. So we'll have some fun with that. And we'll do the Wall of Sound next.
Serving it up hot and fresh every day. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Hey, it's Adam Gold from my friend Gordon Miller, Miller Lending, Kildare Farm Road in Cary, and it was a difficult weekend for my friend Gordon Miller. I have known him for a quarter of a century. I'm not sure he's had a tougher weekend than this because he is a Detroit native. Yeah, I know. He never saw this one coming. He thought they would figure out a way, but they didn't. So here is how we are going to make Gordon feel better. We are going to help you save thousands of dollars on closing costs when you get a mortgage or refinance your mortgage. That's right. Helping you save thousands is how Gordon feels better about life. He wants to save you money. That's the reason he invented the no closing cost mortgage, because he realized that closing costs were unnecessary and expensive, especially to people who don't have thousands of dollars just ready to light on fire. Miller Lending on Kildare Farm Road in Cary since 1996. They are an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 250-2146.
It's bow time.
A leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99.
Leg and thigh dinner from Bojangles for just $5.99.
So crispy.
So crispy.
And juicy.
And juicy.
So much flavor.
So much.
Stop it. What are you doing?
What, you expect me to get this delicious deal and not say anything?
You're unbelievable.
You're unbelievable. With a boldly seasoned leg and thigh, choice of fixin', a biscuit, and legendary iced tea, it's a deal so good it's worth repeating. So eat and repeat while it lasts. It's bow time.
There's no time like bow time. And there's no time like now to stop what you're doing and join with the K.O. Cancer Fund in the fight against all cancers affecting women. Now through February 1st, Triangle Area Bojangles are donating all proceeds from Bowberry biscuit sales to the K.O. Cancer Fund. Just buy a Bowberry biscuit. You'll be doing some good and getting something good. So what are you waiting for? Hurry, it's bow time.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
It's 2025, and it's time to get your home zero-resified by calling our cleaning heroes at Zero Res. Get 3 rooms zero-resified starting at just $109 and take $100 off your air duct cleaning as well. Book online anytime at ZeroResRaleigh.com.
No two people learn the exact same way.
So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto. Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
This hour of the Triangle Sports Leader is powered by Ritchie Law Firm, injury lawyers. Ritchie Law is on top of it. Go to ritchielaw.com.
That's ritchielaw.com.
WCMC HD1 Holly Springs. Take us with you on the radio, Instagram, TikTok, Alexa, and YouTube. 99.9 The Fan, the Triangle Sports Leader.
This is the Adam Gold Show on the North Carolina Sports Network.
And they give it right back to Blakes, and here he comes. Crossover, straight to the basket. Pull up, fade away for the win with 0.9. If it stands, we'll see if they reset the clock. Remember now.
You don't think this has been a big shot for him?
Well, I mean, think about it. For those of you that weren't with us, he played at Duke the last 3 years. So he came here 3 times. Yep. This is his 4th trip. No bigger shot in his collegiate career, especially considering where it is, than that one right there.
It's the Adam Gold Show. I am Adam Gold. Victoria's on the 1s and 2s. Coming up in just a few minutes, Matt Brown, our friend from Extra Points, the newsletter. He was at the national championship game last night. Before we bring in Matt Brown, again, we're about 10 minutes away, or not 10, 15 minutes away from talking to him. He was not scheduled to cover the game. He was not credentialed for the game. I've talked to Matt often, and we have him on the show a lot, and he covers the business, the side of college sports that is really driving college sports. It has become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it is ever-changing, and we talk about these types of things all the time. Last time we talked to Matt Brown, it was when we were talking about the marketing deal that was a Jake Retzlaff, the quarterback at BYU, happens to be Jewish, that he got with Manischewitz from Matzah. It's the greatest, and Matt is he's Mormon. It's BYU is the biggest Mormon university in the country, and Matt just thought that whole thing was hysterical, and we shared that opinion, and we talked about that. So we talk about those types of things. We don't often talk football. Initially, the College Football Playoff Committee declined to give him a media credential, even though he covers the business of the game and the business of college football. You may hate to hear this, is more than half of college football these days. That'd be like not credentialing somebody from, I don't know, the Sports Business Journal for the Super Bowl. Like, how can we not allow the business of the sport to be covered too? It just does. Anyway, maybe the NFL doesn't allow that, but I'm sure they do. As long as you cover the league. And Matt, he covers college football. So ultimately, here's how he got his credential. Commissioner of the ACC, Jim Phillips, made a call. Matt did not reach out and request. Jim Phillips made a call, got him a credential.
Nice.
Yes. I've said this before about Jim Phillips. There is not a nicer human being in intercollegiate athletics than Jim Phillips. By the way, second place on that list is Bubba Cunningham, and he will join us Friday on the show. So, yes, Bubba Cunningham, director of athletics at UNC, he will be on the show Friday. We're still, we're still basking in the glow of him in his cutoff suit jacket at the Bill Belichick press conference. We'll see if maybe he'll wear that for us. I will ask him if he still has it. Yes. All right, let's do a wall of sound.
The wall of sound is a function of this studio. There's no doubt about it.
All right. Kevin Keats, you got a week off. You got to get right for the weekend. I know it's a tough stretch of games, as Brian Geisinger pointed out to us. But what are you working on during the week?
I was hoping to go into this week with a win. And you can learn a lot of things and teach a lot of things with a win. Unfortunately, we didn't get the win. And so we got to work on a lot of things. I think we got to work on just being consistent. We got to play many games. We got to put them in situations. I thought we gave up, once again, we gave up 12 offensive rebounds. We are getting beat to 50-50 balls. And if you take away some of those or one or two of those, then you win those games.
Yeah, it's the little things. I think a lot of times when teams don't do the little things well, it's that I never like to use the word quit because I don't think that's accurate. I really don't. I think teams get discouraged. And when you get discouraged and you wonder why it's not going well, it slows you down. Your mind starts wandering. The teams that know they're successful and are confident just react. And the split second it takes to lose that 50-50 ball is the hesitation of thinking about why isn't it going better. All right, so we know that Ben Johnson's going to be the head coach of the Chicago Bears. Was the offensive coordinator of the Lions. Aaron Glenn is likely going to be the head coach of the New York Jets. Why, Aaron? You had your whole future ahead of you. Adam Schefter on those two men.
Once the Lions were eliminated, it accelerated the hiring cycle that much more. So you're going to see Ben Johnson get a job. You're going to see Aaron Glenn get a job. I would imagine that both those guys have jobs no later than the middle of this week. Both of them. And the Lions will lose both their coordinators. We've talked about that before. It's obvious right now. These are the top two guys out there right now, in no particular order. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. They're going to get jobs. They're going to have multiple opportunities. It's just a question of where they want to go right now.
All right. I guess that was Sunday. Ben Johnson was already introduced in Chicago. So Aaron Glenn has not yet been introduced by the Jets. Again, he was drafted by the Jets. He played the majority of his career for the Jets. He was a dynamite cornerback, a super leadership guy. He's going to be a good head coach, probably in his second stint as a head coach, because it appears his first stint will be with the Jets. So now the Lions and head coach Dan Campbell are charged with replacing two really good coordinators.
We've got guys on staff that I think are more than qualified and would be outstanding in those roles. But that does not mean that I'm not looking outside either. So I want what I believe is going to be as close to what we have been as possible. And we don't lose what we're about and our identity. And we're going to stay true to who we are. And if you're somebody that doesn't feel comfortable with that, this isn't the job for you.
I mean, look, I think Dan Campbell is a guy that everybody would want to work for, right? He cares. Not only does he care about the job, but he obviously cares about the people. And that's the number one thing. If you are looking for a boss who you know cares about you, that's somebody to work for. Dan Quinn is the head coach of the Commanders. Yes, I said Commanders. And he's got a quarterback who he believes is a rare being.
He just has a different poise about him than most, and he's a rare competitor. There's no doubt about that. But in those moments, if he was a basketball player, he'd want the last shot. As a ball player, he wants the ball in his hands to make the difference, and he makes great decisions with the football. And that takes real mindfulness. Sometimes the best play may be, hey, I got to throw this away. He uses his legs. But he is a rare competitor for us. But his poise in these tight moments really stands out to us.
Jaden Daniels, look, last year we said a lot of the same things about C.J. Stroud. So before we completely go overboard, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't, just understand that in order to be sure about these things, year 2 needs to look pretty similar to year 1. In the case of C.J. Stroud, it definitely has not. That doesn't mean that year 1 was the outlier. Year 2 could have been the outlier. We just need to see year 3. But boy, Jaden Daniels looks different. He just looks different.
So crazy, so talented.
The talent is, I'll just say half of it. It might be less than half of it. He is super talented. There is a poise about him that is uncommon.
Which is a talent.
That's true.
Because I don't feel like, I mean, we heard that about Bryce, about how he is composed.
You're right.
And he didn't come out the gate being like so composed like Jaden did. So I don't know. Jaden's just a whole different beast.
It is like there's part of him that reminds me of Randall Cunningham in the poise part of it. Cunningham was awesome. So he is just so cool. One more thing before the break. The matchup between, we haven't really talked, I talked about it briefly with Will. We probably spent 3 minutes on Bills-Ravens. Josh Allen was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Look, I believe that Lamar Jackson, apart from a couple of mistakes, obviously the interception and the fumble, was also great. And probably was actually better than Allen apart from the 2 mistakes. But we can't unsee the 2 mistakes. Now here's Allen on advancing.
It's what we've worked for is an opportunity to play another week. You know, we don't want our season to end on a loss. And this gives us an opportunity to keep going, but we'll enjoy this one. You know, a lot to learn from this one. Obviously wasn't pretty, but these playoff games, man, you got to win by 1. That's all that matters.
Yeah. No, look. Allen they were more conservative offensively, which maybe was smart. I don't know. They won the game. But the Ravens were a turnover machine. Andrews had the 1 turnover, the fumble in the 4th quarter. Lamar Jackson had 2. He had the interception and the fumble. So if you lose the turnover battle 3-0 in a game like that, you lose the game. It's that easy. At the end of the game, everybody was focused on the Mark Andrews fumble and the Mark Andrews dropped 2-point conversion that would have tied the game. They asked Jackson after the game if he talked to Mark.
Yeah, I talked to him on the sideline, but I'm just as hurt as Mark. You know, it's his fault. Like, all of us played a factor in that game. You know, it's a team effort. I'm just not gonna put that on Mark, bro. Because he's been battling all season. He's been doing all the great things he's been doing all season. It don't always go our way. We want it to, but at the wrong time, it's like it's not going our way. We need to figure that out, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that he didn't put any more pressure because media was ripping Mark immediately after that game.
I thought, and I probably spend too much time focusing on these types of things, but I thought that Lamar Jackson's postgame showed a level of maturity that people do not believe exists in Lamar Jackson.
Right.
He took the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't put it on anybody because I don't know how many times he said that I can't turn the ball over. Actually, he cursed several times during it.
Right.
He apologized for cursing, but he cursed several times. And here's Jackson on turnovers.
And like I've been saying all season, every time we in situations like this, turnovers play a factor. Penalties play a factor. Tonight, it's a turnover. We can't have that shit, you know? And that's why we lost the game, because as you can see, we're moving the ball wonderfully. Is hold on to the ball. Sorry for my language, but this shit annoying.
See?
Lots of boop.
Yeah.
Boop.
No, I was watching that.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I didn't watch it live because I didn't hear him. Maybe I did. I don't remember. But I was watching that and going, yeah, that's what leadership looks like.
Yeah. He's
because
passionate.
We always, when people get mad at referees' calls, right? Very rarely, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but very rarely do people get mad at a call in the first quarter. They just don't.
Yeah.
They get mad at the call at the end of the game. Well, that cost us the game. It certainly, these things can impact the winning and the losing of games. But there are impactful calls and impactful plays throughout the game. And Jackson, while they were in position to tie the game if Andrews catches that 2-point conversion, the only reason that they weren't maybe icing the game at that point was because Jackson threw the first interception, which didn't cost them points in terms of Buffalo scoring, but may have cost the Ravens points in that they might have scored.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fumble that Von Miller picked up and ran inside the red zone, that absolutely led to points. So they were at least -7 on those turnovers. And that's the difference in the game. And Jackson knows that. And I think he was surprised that the media kept harping on the last two, the mistakes, the Andrews fumble and then the drop pass, as opposed to, wait a second, I turned it over twice.
Yeah. 60-minute game.
Yeah, that's leadership, I think. All right, when we come back, Matt Brown, Extra Points, covers the business of college football, was at the national championship game last night. We'll ask him about it next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
Listen every afternoon for The Drive with Tim Donnelly.
It's 2025 and everybody's looking for a fresh start with their resolutions. Every team, player, coach, they've got something on a wish list. The Canes, I think they could use a little bit more toughness. The Panthers, clarity on Bryce Young. Is he the guy? Is he not? And every college basketball team wants to be hitting their stride as they hit the ACC schedule.
The Drive with Tim Donnelly, 3 to 6 on 99.9 The Fan.
Homeowners, it's time to start fresh in 2025. Hey, it's Dennis Cox. Loan Pronto is here to help you take control of your finances in 2025 by lowering your house payment and consolidating that nagging debt. Did you know that 9 out of 10 borrowers get a better deal by calling Loan Pronto? Right now, Loan Pronto has some of the most competitive offers for refis, debt consolidation, and purchase loans, starting in the low 5s APR. If your current rate is over 6%, don't settle for paying too much. Even if you're in process with another lender, call Loan Pronto. Lock in a lower rate today and close in as little as 2 weeks, often with no appraisal. You can even skip your next 2 house payments. It's fast, easy, and hassle-free. Get your personalized Loan Pronto rate quote instantly with no hard credit pull and no upfront fees. Call 919-381-1760 or loanpronto.com. 919-381-1760, loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
What's this?
We're expanding the North Carolina Education Lottery Winners Club.
That's a pretty big wrecking ball.
Well, with all these new scratch-offs, this place is going to be packed with new winners. Okay, let's go ahead and knock this wall down. This is where we're putting the polo field. Whoa, patience, Trixie.
This month's tickets are loaded with $150 million in total prizes. The Winners Club awaits. Must be 18 to play. Approximate overall odds of winning range from 1 to 3.31 to 4.55. Problem and Gambling Helpline 877-718-5543.
If you needed one more reason to choose Diamonds Direct over any other jeweler, get this. Diamonds Direct maintains involvement in the entire diamond process and handpicks the best just for you. You see, any jeweler can claim to be a direct importer or have so-called partnerships overseas, but Diamonds Direct has special access that others simply don't have. Nobody can get closer to the source than Diamonds Direct. Indeed, Diamonds Direct is recognized in the industry as a world diamond powerhouse with unrivaled buying power and decades of inside connections that go back to their roots as actual diamond cutters. Bottom line, Diamonds Direct is without question the jeweler here that can truly offer the absolute best value. Make no mistake, Diamonds Direct refuses to be undersold on GIA certified diamonds. And we challenge you, let us prove it. Diamonds Direct, your source for the ultimate diamond value. Official jeweler of the Carolina Hurricanes and proud sponsor of NC State Athletics. And proud to call the Triangle home. Diamonds Direct, your love, our passion.
So, what's the asking price on this house?
You'd probably be more comfortable living somewhere else.
How long is the lease?
Sure, you can afford to live here, but...
How about the schools?
We have twins.
This neighborhood probably wouldn't be right for your kids.
If a real estate or rental agent says anything like this, you are being discriminated against, and it is illegal. If you experience housing discrimination, go to HUD.gov/fair housing and report it. Fair housing. The law is on your side. A message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Lowe's knows how to help make your Super Bowl 59 party a touchdown. Let us help you prep your home to host with top brands like Charbroil, Blackstone, and LG, so you can be the MVP of game day. Plus, use the Lowe's app to find what you need for a seamless shopping run. Or huddle up with our Lowe's Red Vest associates to help make all your game time hosting decisions.
This is Adam Gold.
Did you see what Duke is paying the quarterback that they pulled out of the portal from Tulane?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. 2-year deal, $4 million per.
Oh, wow.
Per. So.
Do they want a quarterback named Victoria?
The Adam Gold Show.
So Matt Brown, extra points at Matt Brown EP on Twitter. You covered the national championship game. I was following the saga the entire way. You were unsure whether or not you would get credentialed. The NCAA or the college football playoff initially said, nah, you don't write enough about the actual sport of college football, as though the sport is the reason why we have the national championship tournament. It's all about business and money, and that's what you cover. But I'm glad you got in. How was it?
I'm glad I got in, too. It was unlike any other event I think I've covered in my career. The scope and the spectacle on a championship game outstrips that of any of the major bowls or conference championship games that I've been to. Despite the fact that it was north of $2,000 to get in, not any of the initial top seeds in this game. The atmosphere and the energy was outstanding, especially because Notre Dame had such a spirited comeback late in the game. It seemed like maybe we'd all kind of change the channel or let our minds wander in the mid-third quarter, but we had a great championship game.
We could argue that maybe Ohio State did too. And maybe that's a lesson for not only Ryan Day but all other college football coaches that in championship type games don't ever let up. And I'm not saying that they did. I have no idea how it all of a sudden became a game, but it was a one-sided game for a long time. I thought once Notre Dame put that 18-play, 9:45 drive on display, they were pretty much spent certainly for the next, 5 or 6 drives. They did basically nothing. But what made it such a spectacle in terms of coverage? Because I've covered a lot of Final Fours, and those are spectacles. And maybe you get jaded after a bit, but you've covered big events. So what made this one different?
I think part of it is, candidly, are the teams involved, right? Ohio State and Notre Dame are potentially the two largest and most national fan bases in the country. Both of them also are coming in with, I think, a little bit of a complex. Right before this season, Notre Dame hadn't won a major bowl game almost since before I was born, it feels like. It became a perennial tradition for them, and they still haven't beaten Ohio State since, before the Ottoman Empire. And then Ohio State. And I, as somebody close to the program, count myself as one of these people. We're ready to fire Ryan Day 4 weeks ago. I can't recall a situation here where you have a guy with a 92% winning percentage that went from having to have security at his house and his kids being yelled at in the grocery store to now being elevated in the pantheon of greats in one of the most historic programs. So you have 75,000 people that are all 2 bad plays away from needing to check into therapy. Plus an enormous stadium. There's concerts. You have the weird weather that's kind of putting everybody at edge. Everything with the presentation was turned up to 11, which may not be quite what both these fan bases were used to. But I will say, in the building, it really did feel electric. And that's kind of the risk you take with sometimes. And I think the Final Four suffers from this a lot. When you just park so many people into a barn and it feels like it's more about brand activation than it is actual elite championship competition. I did not get that feeling from this game last night.
Yeah, well, I mean, the truth is in a Final Four setting when the court is so far away from the actual fans, it's actually hard to have a good atmosphere for those games. But in football, which it's commonplace at this point, that they're all playing. I mean, they played in the home of the Atlanta Falcons last night, so they're used to having big football games there. Although I would argue, I'm not sure the Atlanta Falcons play a ton of big football games. Matt Brown, Extra Points, is joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. But you've had a long run. You started this whole trip in Nashville, right? At the NCAA convention, but I know you also met with players who were discussing potentially organizing. What was your impression? What was your takeaway from those meetings?
Yeah, the athletes.org hosted probably the largest athlete labor event, athlete organizing event that's ever happened. There are 50 FBS football players from major P4 and major G5 programs all throughout the country. And my takeaway here is that I wouldn't look at this event as, this is definitely the microcosm of a union, or this wasn't successful because it's not a union. You and I, we can go call up Jim Phillips. We can go call up athletic directors. We can call up the same 6 Twitter lawyers, and we can get an opinion about what people think about the transfer portal, what people think about the changes in college athletics. But largely, college athletes are not plugged into those situations the same way. It's difficult to talk to them. And what I think was valuable about this wasn't just for me to put a microphone in front of somebody and say, hey, as the actual football player, what do you think about playing a 16-game schedule? What do you think about a transfer window portal that's only 10 days? But also so they can talk to each other. Because many of them said, we don't really know what our peers think. During the season, we're locked in. We're not necessarily talking with our old 7-on-7 guys at the South Florida Express. We're not necessarily talking shop with people at other conferences. This was a chance to be able to get those different perspectives. And I can't begin to tell you how the athlete labor movement is going to end or what's going to happen with employment. The one thing that I do believe as a reporter and as a person is that if there's going to be major decisions made about athletes should be in the room. Athletes should have a voice, and we're beginning to see the catalyst of that movement happening here.
I certainly hope so. I'll just relate a quick story. I'm trying to think how many years this goes back. I can just tell you that E.J. Manuel was still a quarterback at Florida State at the time, so I don't remember the actual year. But we were doing the ACC Summer Media Day it was at Pinehurst in North Carolina, and that was it was at the beginning of why can't these athletes get some money legally for their efforts? And I swear to you, every single athlete I asked that question, they were like, we don't care. So, the funny thing is that I think it takes the athletes a little bit longer. They're so insulated from all of these things. It just takes it a little bit longer for that to kind of filter down through. And we're long past the days where the athlete should be receiving something other than just the scholarship, which I've always argued varies in value depending on the athlete and the university that they're playing at. So I'm glad we're here. I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where the athletes are in control and have any say, because you have said on this program many times that you think that the atmosphere is ripe for Congress to get in and essentially set the rules, which would really eliminate the athletes from the equation, no?
Yeah, but potentially, right? A lot of this depends on just the legal situation, who you're collective bargaining with, who's the designated agent, what the law says about any of these things. It's hard to project. I think the last thing before I go here to catch this flight, to reiterate, I think, to the audience, is that these conversations are really about much more than just money. Everyone at the P5 level is getting paid, right? This is the first time in my career when I've been interviewing college athletes who mostly are making more money than I am.
Right.
And I say that not pejoratively, like that's just the reality. But
Right.
They don't have a say in practice conditions or about what majors they can actually take. And the difference between what's permitted by a coach in the college versus the pros is massive. And that's because one has an NFLPA and one has a couple of guys on Twitter. And some agents that sometimes are real agents and sometimes are schmucks like you and me or people from the dorm, and that's what these movements are about. So I have some coverage on that on our newsletter, extrapointsmb.com. We're going to have I think a little bit more about this championship game as I'm trying to unpack everything from the last 7 days on the road. I appreciate you having me on, and I'll catch up with you hopefully if I ever get back to Chicago.
All right, man. Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks, brother.
So Matt was in line going through the TSA to board his flight back to Chicago this morning when we caught up. So we were trying to figure out when to do it. He was like, you know what, this is going to take forever. Let's just do it from the line. So we ran out of time there. But think about, all of the changes that are coming to college football, the college football playoff. We're not even sure what it's going to look like next year. Could it be 14? It might be 14. But if not next year, definitely the year after that it'll be 14, and we're going to be at 16 soon. We just are. You know what they found out? Man, those home playoff games were fun. Those home games were fun. That's what they found out, even though all but one of them, I think, was a blowout. They found out how much fun they were. All right, when we come back, the head coach of your Carolina Hurricanes, Rod Brind'Amour, as they get ready to play the Dallas Stars. But we'll talk more about last night, the return of Frederick Anderson, and what the top line really is. Next.
Raleigh to Boone, Charlotte to Chapel Hill. Your Carolina is covered. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
I choose to stay up to date on my vaccines to protect what matters most, my community.
Don't let COVID-19 and the flu stop you.
So make sure you have protection against new virus strains that continue to spread this fall and winter.
Don't wait. Get up to date.
Because my health is our health.
Ask your healthcare provider about updated flu and COVID-19 shots.
Don't wait. Get your updated shots today.
Visit myspot.nc.gov and find yours today.
As fall championships begin, the Governor's Highway Safety Program would like to remind you to buckle your seatbelt when traveling home from today's events. Whether you're driving out of town or across town this holiday season, wearing a seatbelt is your best defense against injury or death in a crash. During the busiest time of travel, prioritize your safety and buckle up. Every seat, every time. And remember, click it or ticket. It's the law. This message brought to you by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association and the Governor's Highway Safety Program.
A crisis moment is any moment where you feel overwhelmed and as if you aren't able alone to handle what's happening. You don't have to be alone with that feeling. And when that feeling comes is exactly when you should reach out, you should get connected, and you should be in community. We care, we listen, we help. Call, text, or chat 988 anytime.
Call, text, or chat 988-24/7.
Adam Gold here from my friends at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and throughout the entire NFL playoffs, FanDuel goes to another level. We're turning it up to an 11 because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. Makes you want to sign up now, doesn't it? $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 wager. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need in the palm of your hand. Plus, when you win, you get paid right away. FanDuel.com/AGS. Join today. $300 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 wager. FanDuel.com/AGS. FanDuel, 21 and over and present in North Carolina. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonuses issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 877-718-5543 or visit morethanagame.nc.gov.
The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is looking for people aged 21 or older to volunteer in long-term care facilities. Community Advisory Committee volunteers help residents and their families advocate for the needs of individuals living in long-term care facilities, such as nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and family care homes. Volunteers must complete orientation and training to become designated and certified representatives of the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program. Visit ncdhhs.gov/aging to find your county's ombudsman.
Did you know that since you have public power, your electricity is operated and controlled by people in your community, not by a for-profit investor-owned company? These local folks are directly accountable to you. They don't answer to shareholders. They make decisions for the good of your community. What's more, your public power provider invests in your community, providing jobs and supporting your local economy. Local people working together to meet local needs. That's public power. Learn more at electricities.com.
If you recently lost health coverage due to a life change, healthcare.gov is here for you. Like it was there for Marcus when he lost his job, and Keisha when she turned 26 and lost her parents' insurance, and Elena when she went off Medicaid. There are many other ways to qualify. Visit healthcare.gov today to see if you're eligible to enroll. Limited time to enroll. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is Adam Gold.
Yeah, but he's real patient, like he said in his interview today.
In all other aspects of life.
Yes.
If he's in line at the drive-thru and it's taking a long time, he will not ram the car in front of him.
Exactly. Someone's pressing his shirt. He will wait 30 seconds for it to be crisper.
The Adam Gold Show.
I mean, it's impossible to underestimate or understate the importance of Frederick Anderson. Not just about the game, we'll get to that, but just how he makes your goaltending situation so much better, no?
Yeah, I mean, that's the most important position, and I think it solidifies it a little better, obviously, when he's in there and healthy. I think it helps Cooch too, just knowing that it's not all on him.
Right.
Goaltending, a lot of it is, I think, mental too. It's just a stressful position, and I think they're a good 1-2 punch kind of thing when they're healthy, obviously.
I mean, that's the way I phrased it to people, is that you got better in both spots. You got better because it will make Piotr better. So you got better at, if you go 1A and 1B, you got better at 1A. And significantly better at 1B. And then about his performance last night, I mean, right off the bat. He faced 3 breakaways in the first period and then the one in the third, which was pretty close to the end of a tied game. I mean, you couldn't have asked for anything more than that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, it's, the one in the third is the game saver because we don't get anything if that goes in. So, it's crucial. I mean, it was funny. That's about the chances they got, too. It's just, we played a pretty decent game, and then we give up those. And that's been the killer here for us. And can't really explain it, but that's what we got to figure a way to stop doing it. And because that you don't want to rely on the goalie to make those kind of saves. That's asking a lot. But it was the difference in the game. Kept us in it, and, we got to our game for sure. And just it could have been a different story had those gone in.
All right, let's talk about where Seth Jarvis is playing right now. I think we talked about this last year. I think he fits. The way he plays, I think, fits with Jordan Staal and Jordan Martinook.
Wow. Yeah, I think anybody would fit there, but I think you're right. When you add a little bit of a scoring touch and a good offensive flair with those guys, I think it's actually a natural fit. And we've done it in the past and kind of bumped them down to try to help out our top kind of line. But, really, if you certainly here lately, the top line is where he is. So,
yeah,
there's no reason to hopefully have to change that. Other than you do want to get your top guys cranking on all cylinders.
Well, you've leaned into it. Don't not lean into it. The top guys wear number 11 and 48. I mean, that's the way you said it. You said it last night. They have been the best line, and it's for some time. What did you like about Jackson Blake playing with Aho and Svechnikov last night?
Yeah, they were okay at times. They certainly had a couple of unbelievable shifts where it was just kind of unfortunate they didn't score. Need a little more of that, I think, consistently throughout the game. And I think it's only been a couple games. I think I'd like to see how this goes for a little while. And I think we certainly know Jackson's future is bright. Playing against the top guys, when you play with Seabass and Sesha, that means you're getting top matchups. It makes it a little tougher, but I think he's handled himself pretty well for 2 games, and we'll see where it goes.
My favorite play was the back check to intercept a pass. Right. That was probably another great scoring opportunity. Real quick about Aho and Natchez. I mean, at some point in overtime, do you just laugh?
Well, I don't laugh, but I certainly, when they're out there, they're obviously a threat and have a good thing going with all that open ice and skating room, and their creativity can certainly shine at that time of the game. So it's get the puck in their hands. That's the goal, and when we do, we usually have pretty good results.
All right, 2 very quick things. First of all, was Eric Robinson as good as I thought he was last night?
Yeah, good observation. He's been good all year.
Yep.
Again, it's bouncing him around a little bit with different guys. He seems to be the key cog to wherever he ends up going. So great speed, right? Like he can get in there and cause a lot of hectic, play by the other team, and creates like he did last night. I mean, he created that goal by just getting in there quickly, and then still has the ability to actually make a play. It wasn't just chucking it. You saw KK on the back door for the empty netter. So that was a real huge play in the game.
All right, now tonight, Dallas, good, big, fast. Anything? Great goaltending. What else did I forget?
Yeah, no, they're elite team, and they play real structured defensive game. They're smart with how they do things. They don't give up breakaways.
Right.
Their D back out when they have to back out. They got it figured out. So we got a challenge, but we played them a month ago or so, and I think we did pretty well. So hopefully we'll have the same kind of effort.
Yeah, I think it was another comeback. Do you like comebacks?
If you win them, I like them. I don't care how you get them. But obviously we don't like getting behind. But even last night we came out of the gates pretty well. I think we had the first 7 shots on that. Like everything's going good, and then we have that breakdown on a simple rush chance. It's it's not how you handle it. So those little mental errors we got to get out of the game, and I think we'll be in at least much better position.
All right, I will. I'll see you Thursday.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, the Hurricanes are home to the Columbus Blue Jackets on Thursday. Big game tonight in Dallas. Referring to that game that Carolina played, it was right before Thanksgiving. I think it was the week before Thanksgiving. I think they beat Dallas, and I think there was the Rangers also at home before the break. They trailed, I forget exactly the score. I got to go look it up. They trailed, I think it was by a couple of goals entering the third period, and ended up winning that game in regulation. So, but I didn't think Carolina was great in that game. They trailed the Rangers also going to the third period, but Carolina was significantly better than the Rangers for the entirety of the game. They just happened to trail, which I guess is not necessarily that uncommon. But they weren't better than Dallas for 2 periods until the third, and then they were, and they won the game. Dallas is a tough matchup for Carolina because Dallas is, for the most part, it's not like everybody is big because I don't think Stankoven is big. I don't think there's a couple of other players among their forwards who are not huge, but my gosh, Robertson is big. Jamie Benn is big and mean. Matt Duchene, I remember when the Hurricanes fans were like, we need Matt Duchene. This was a long time ago when he was with Ottawa, I believe. And he ended up going, I don't even remember where he went. I think he went to Colorado first. He wasn't great there. Went to Nashville. He was okay. Wasn't awesome. But this Matt Duchene looks like the Matt Duchene that Hurricanes fans were really pining for a long time ago. Dallas is good. And they've got great goaltending in Jake Ottinger. Great goaltending. He's big, too. So this would be one of, like, when you beat Vegas on Friday, this would be along those lines. Dallas has not played super of late. They won their last game. But they lost to Colorado before then. They lost to Montreal, I think, before that. Dallas, though, is a bona fide Stanley Cup contender, in my opinion. And just real quick, we could go back and forth on Twitter all day long. So, very simply, the Hurricanes need a player like JT Miller. I don't know that they'll acquire a player like JT Miller. I'm fairly certain that they won't acquire JT Miller. But a player who plays a game like JT Miller, which are not easy to find, by the way, is definitely something that the Hurricanes should try to acquire, whether it's now or going forward, like in this offseason. Like I've said for a long time, man, they need a guy like Nazem Kadri, a good player who plays with a nasty streak, because they need some of that. The Hurricanes do not have nasty streak player.
He's got grit.
Kadri.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, he's not quite the same as he used to be. He's toned that behavior down, much like Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson is not the he's more of a like hockey player now.
Yeah. He had it more when he was with the Avs.
Oh, Kadri.
Yeah.
Well, he really had it with Toronto.
Yeah.
In Toronto, he was nasty, dirty. But the Hurricanes could use that element. And I've said this for a long time. Look, I go back to a point where I said they need a player like, not the same guy, Rafi Torres, for people who remember that. I mean, Torres was a dirty player. They needed something like that. And actually, they did at one point sign Rafi Torres. I don't believe he made the roster because he was trying to come back from a gruesome knee injury, and it didn't really work out. And he was past his sell-by date anyway. So, but the Hurricanes need a player who is more of an agitator because they don't have any of those players on their roster, even in their system. They've got a lot of good players, but they don't have one of those. And I've always thought that they needed something like that. It would be beneficial to them. It would give them a little bit of a different element. Like, not every team has somebody who is known to be drop the gloves and let's go. But who would that player be on the Hurricanes? Could you guess who that player would be? I'll tell you who had two fighting majors I think it was two fighting majors.
I mean, Orlov.
Not really.
He's didn't he get feisty early in the season?
But I don't think he's like. Have the Hurricanes had a fighting major? I think they've had one fighting major this year.
Yeah.
That's
the Rangers. They have enough of those for everyone.
Jack Drury had two last year.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. No offense. I hope this doesn't get back to Jack. But that ain't the guy you want.
No.
As your fighter.
No.
Right? That's not the guy. Anyway, but the Hurricanes need that element. I don't think that element will come in the form of JT Miller. I don't believe the Hurricanes want to part with assets for JT Miller, even though, again, as a player, independent of everything else, it would be awesome to add that player to this mix. Awesome. But it comes with 5 more years after this year of a contract that's more than $8 million a year. In the grand scheme of things going forward, that's probably not that big a deal. But it's more than they've got. They do, I believe, want to pay Natchez long term. Hey, maybe one comes at the expense of the other. I don't know. There will be money coming off the books. Brent Burns' money comes off the books. Dmitry Orlov's money comes off the books. But, of course, they have to replace that money, at least one spot, with somebody. Alexander Nikishin's going to be one of those spots. But the other spot, who's that going to be? You're going to have, like, if you're replacing Burns, you're replacing a top-pair defenseman who plays on the right side. And if you say, well, we'll just move Chatfield up, all right, I don't think that's a great idea. But if you're replacing a top 4 right side defenseman, I'm not sure Morrow's that guy. I know Hurricanes fans, we love our prospects, but it is the fatal flaw of all fans that we fall in love with prospects. If they hit, awesome, gravy. But more often than not, your best prospects, doesn't happen all the time, are guys like Slavin and Pesce, who are not thought to be great players. They just developed into great players. And more often than not, your great, high draft picks are Noah Hannafins. That it was a struggle for a bunch of years before he became what he is, which is a top 4 left-handed defenseman, left-sided defenseman. Actually, might not even be playing. I think he is playing in Vegas' top 4. Or they become Hayden Fleury, who really didn't hit, right? That's the problem. Don't fall in love with your prospects and count on them because you don't know if they're going to hit. So the Hurricanes at some point are going to have to find a first pair right-sided defenseman because that should be a big ticket item. Somebody who's going to play with Jacob Slavin. Right? Slavin is here for, after this year, 8 more years. Going to have to find somebody to fill that role. So, and theoretically, you're going to want to pay a goaltender. At some point, you can't pay everybody. Seth Jarvis just got paid. Natchez, maybe, going forward. Aho got paid. Svech got paid. There's a lot of money going out the door. You can't pay everybody. So the JT Miller, again, the idea of a JT Miller is important. The individual, I don't think the Hurricanes are going to give up assets for him. I really don't. And if you say, well, if you traded them Kotkaniemi and Roslovic, the money works out in terms of salary cap. But you would be assuming that Vancouver is not paying attention. It's the way these things often work. Like, they scout. They're not dumb. They understand that if they get Kotkaniemi and Roslovic in exchange for JT Miller, that's a bad trade for them in terms of the personnel. So what else are you giving them? And what did I say? Hurricanes aren't going to give up assets for JT Miller. So there you go. These things are fun, but when the reality hits, there's probably not a fit here for JT Miller. But that doesn't mean you can't add the element, which is what I believe they need. All right, quick rewind. All right, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, on Lamar versus Josh. And Lamar turned it over twice. Allen didn't. And isn't that what ultimately happened in the first half?
Well, yeah, if you look at even the 4 teams who advanced, Washington, Philadelphia, Buffalo, and Kansas City all had 0 turnovers in their divisional round games. And there's how bad did we lose that game? The stats out there, like the metrics where like they take the ETA per play. They take it's like did you play better than the team you lost to? And all four of the teams that won those games actually probably should have lost if not for the turnover differential. And that was really everything for those games, and particularly for the Ravens. You talk about the Lions too. It's like, with when you get into these single, playoff matchups, football's a funny game. The ball bounces weird ways. And if you get the bad turnover luck, or if you commit turnovers, like if you make those mistakes, the line is so fine between winning and losing. It's like 2 or 3 plays, right?
Yeah.
And, when you make those mistakes and when you turn the ball over at a higher rate than maybe you did during the regular season, it's going to lead to way more variance and make it way less likely that you advance.
Look, Buffalo had a big lead. We can't pretend that it didn't matter.
Like the Lamar stuff where it's like, I saw it's pretty funny, but it's like, it was like a Superman joke, but he was had a shirt on that said "regular season man,"
right?
Which is just unfair, I get it. I get the hot takes that Lamar can't close in the playoffs. I just think it's when you look at the AFC in particular, for the next 10 years, you have to getting through the playoffs involves probably playing in Buffalo or Kansas City or both of them or in Baltimore.
Yeah,
and it's just hard. It's been like that with Brady and the Patriots for 20 years, and now it's somehow worse.
Yeah, and you got to avoid playing both of them. You got to avoid playing both of those games. Now, Buffalo might be able to get through, but man, the probability of beating the Ravens and then beating the Chiefs are less than beating the Texans and then beating the survivor of that game. Victoria, thank you. See you.
Going beyond the box scores. Adam Gold on the North Carolina Sports Network.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go. Shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke.